Thank you everybody for coming tonight on a snowy night. We have a special presentation for Barton LaJudas tonight. Chris Lawton's here. He's going to set up until he does. We have some minutes to approve. We have the January 17, 2018 minutes. Did everybody take a look at those? Motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Dave. Second. I'm sorry?
I'm going to have discussion.
Okay. Second by Rich. Discussion.
Gail, would it be appropriate to do the resolution at this point for the minutes? We're on the January 17th minutes to amend those, or we need any resolution?
That's what I thought they were doing, but we wanted to defining
Okay.
the town's policy on going to the state.
We're going to amend the resolution about the Association of Towns meeting. We're now, originally the resolution stated that we were going to cover the cost of the conference, but we're going to now include the cost of the hotel rooms, and then the meals and the travel would be borne by the participants. So I will amend that and make that as a motion.
And Rich, I think normally it's for the town employee, and if someone else comes, the additional cost is borne by the employee.
Right.
And that's the way we do it in the past.
Yeah, I just want to make
Right.
It was the same as the last resolution we made when we went. The only thing is we're not paying this time for meals or taking in any travel. So we're not paying for travel. We're not paying for meals.
For the officers who were going?
Yeah, it was just to pay for the actual classes that you go to and the hotel stay.
And that's what that should reflect, so I'll make that as a formal motion.
Motion by Rich, second. Second by Phil. Discussion?
I'm confused.
Okay.
We're changing it from just the cost of the conference to include now the hotel,
To include the hotel,
and that's it.
and that's it. Didn't we pay for meals? And I'm not
We
going and haven't gone for a long time. Didn't we include meals? You brought a receipt back, and meals were covered. Obviously, if someone else goes with you, they're not covered.
Right.
But we've always covered meals. And it doesn't make any difference to me.
Well, I just thought everybody eats in a different place, and if you go with somebody, I mean, you figure it out, and you know.
It's fine with me.
Yeah, I think the room and board's fair, and then their travel down, everybody's got a different way of traveling, so it just gets too crazy with the mileage and everything. It's just another expense we don't need. So.
And then we could save them money.
Yeah, and then we're saving it anyway, so I mean, so it's just the room, because you have to stay overnight, and then the classes, because it's for the town, and we're actually going to them, so. Right. Okay, so you made the motion, Rich. Phil seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks. January 22nd's meeting, did everybody review those? Take a look at them.
I'll move it.
Second. Motion by Dave, second by... by Jim, sorry. Jim. Discussion? Yeah. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, thanks. Public hearings. Anybody in the public would like to comment on anything? Yes, Ms. Florence, yep.
Yes, if you don't mind, I'm going to sit here because I've hurt one of my legs.
Oh, yeah, no problem, sure.
So, I want to address the town board regarding the cell tower that was going to be sited in the park. The gentleman that spoke in rather vague descriptions did say that the cell tower was going to be near the water tank in the park. And that area of the park is zoned low-density residential. He didn't think he needed park alienation, but he said he'd take care of it if he did. At the end of the discussion, the town board was asked to approve Resolution 233 of 2017, that upon the expiration of the permissive referendum period, the town supervisors authorized to execute all documents required to complete the option and ground lease agreement, subject to the review and approval of the town attorney for the town as to form and content. I sent, after the second resolution that was passed, I sent a FOIL request asking for any documents that the town board had in regards to that lease. I was told that I'd have those documents by January 22nd, and when it got to January 31st and I still had nothing, I emailed the town clerk and said, just give me certification that you don't have anything. And within a couple of hours, I had 4 documents. Those documents told part of the story. From those documents, I could tell that the discussion for that town, the cell tower in the park, was being talked about for at least a year behind closed doors. It did not appear that council members were included in that email exchange. There was an Albany attorney, 3 people from Homeland Towers, 2 people from an engineering firm, and 1 person from Verizon, plus the town attorney and the previous supervisor. I'm going to backtrack a little and tell you about Sherbrooke Park. According to copies of July 31st, 1961 special town board meeting minutes, plans to create the town park off Route 12 were discussed. At first they discussed that they were just going to purchase the Borden track. And as they got into the discussion, they decided they needed to make a bigger park. At the October 18th, 1961 town board minutes, they filed all the contracts for those parcels with the town clerk. And they resolved that it would be a town park, and it was contingent on state funding. In a July 16, 1969 Utica Observer Dispatch article, the title was New Hartford Gets Aid for Park. And that stated that the town of New Hartford was awarded 2 state grants totaling $75,000 for the first stage development of the town's Sherbrooke Park and the Chadwick's Town Park. A grant of $60,000 was awarded to the 204-acre Sherbrooke Park. The Chadwick's Park received $15,000. So, taking that article into consideration, Sherbrooke was indeed more acreage than shown on the PR zone map that currently exists. 204 acres matches the footprint of the parcel identified on the Oneida County tax map as the tax map number that was identified in your legal notice. I spoke to Supervisor Tuzinski after an October 2015 town board meeting. That's when you were going to, the budget was adopted to put $150,000 in revenues, anticipated revenues, to cover some of the expenses of the town park. And I told him that the town park was state funded and there was a contract. And he told me, I know the town attorney is already looking over those contracts. So obviously it was known that there was a contract, there was a grant agreement on those parcels, on that parcel. The agreement that I'm referring to says on page 7, paragraph 24, the municipality shall not at any time sell, convey, or convert any property or facility acquired or developed pursuant to the agreement to other than a public outdoor recreation use without the express authority of an act of the legislature. Town Codes Chapter 107D, telecommunications facilities, says the least desirable area to site a telecommunications facility would be in a park, and the areas identified in the town's open space recreation plan as important preservation conservation areas should be avoided to the maximum extent possible. I sent, in my FOIL request that I sent to you, I told you there's a 10-step process to cite anything in the park. Not one of the 10 steps appears to have been followed, the first 3 of those being to determine if an alienation is required, explore other options, and involve the public. There was no public participation in this. It was just dropped on the public at the December 13th meeting. In 1998, Resolution 141 was adopted, and that was to site the tank in the park. And if you look at the maps that I've given you, the tank is in the part of the park that is now low-density residential. So apparently, back in 1998, it didn't matter that it was low-density residential. It required alienation to put a tank in the park. I also gave you a map that I got off the internet from everytrail.com that shows that the trails that are in the park that are used by the public are along a brook and go out north towards the water tank. So obviously, even though it's low-density residential zoning, it is used by the park, and it is part of the park. Bottom line, from my research, all the town parks have received state and/or federal funds and are covered under the public trust doctrine. And that would include the Recreation Center and the Ray Hill Trail. To believe that any of those parks could be in other than a PR zone is kind of ridiculous, since a PR zone is purely single-family neighborhood. So what my thought is, to prevent any future misunderstandings, we need to change that zone map and make the whole park a park, just like it's supposed to be, and like the agreement that we signed back in 1969. And along with that, Schedule A, there's no uses of right in a town park. You can only put in a town park, but the state allows you to put in a town park. After you go through the legislature and get the alienation. And with the federal park, if it's been received federal funds, which the Recreation Center has, there's even a step beyond that you have to take. So I leave you with that the deal with putting the tower in the park was at least a year in the making. It didn't involve the public, and your two resolutions need to be rescinded. And if you want to put a tower in the park in the future, it needs to be done the right way.
I'd like to comment. I actually called Vincent Xavier from Homeland Towers, and since our last supervisor didn't sign the lease or sign any of the paperwork.
It's got to be after the permissive period.
Right.
And then subject to my approval. That's why it hasn't been signed.
Okay.
And there is a requirement of an alienation. We know that it's got to
Right.
go through an alienation.
But what I told him was that any fees or anything that was acquired or anything in the past or in the future too, that they would reimburse us for all those, and told them that we wanted no cost associated with this. So if there is a mess up in the process, they said they will pay all the costs of this process. And also told them that I won't sign this until he actually comes down for a public hearing for question and answers.
Well, the park actually needs to be in a park zone before you
Right.
do anything.
Okay.
And then the next step should be to contact the parks and do the alienation and have some public hearings. Let the public know what you're doing. If the public's fine with it, that's fine.
Kathy, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
If I look at attachment A, I see something in bold, dark, and it's got an O in it. Is that the area that you're talking about?
Where the O
That's
is,
the water
I
tank.
highlighted it because if you
Yeah.
print out our map, it's white. It's very difficult to see.
Right.
That's where the tower is.
Okay, that's... and
That is
you're
the
saying
tank,
that's
rather. I'm sorry, the
LDR.
tank.
That's LDR rather than park.
Right.
Okay. I
The,
just
the
wanted to
yellow is
clarify.
the yellow is LDR. The green is park.
Thank you.
But actually, the whole thing should be park because that green spot does not represent 204 acres.
Okay, thank you.
Is there cost associated with that, Herb, to get that done with a survey?
Well, what we would have to do is a zone map amendment through the town board, be done by a local law, because that's how we adopted the zoning ordinance.
Okay. But it's not a huge cost
No.
to do that?
No,
Okay. So let's-
we get a legal description and go forward. Joe, do you know why it was
It mimicked,
cut out?
it mimicked the prior map. That's the way it was always delineated.
Yeah, I mean, I'd
on
be
the
happy
zoning
to
maps.
look at it, because clearly that should be rectified. I mean, if it's park and it's listed as LDR, it shouldn't be, it should be park.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to look at it.
All right, so next meeting, we come back and...
Can I get a month? Are we
Okay.
meeting in 2 weeks? Because right after the Association of Towns?
Yeah.
Could we, maybe give me a month?
Okay.
All right.
But we'll stop we'll wait until we get
Yeah,
this taken
go
care
ahead.
of first, okay.
Kathy, the lines that you've drawn to include the tank on Exhibit A, those are existing lines that you just,
I just highlighted so that,
Highlighted?
yeah, you can,
okay, so those are existing.
I didn't want you to have to try to figure out where the park was. That's
Right.
where the park is.
Okay,
Yeah.
and
Right. We go
If
forward
that is
with the
accomplished,
zone map amendment.
the trails would then be within
Within the park.
the park.
Yeah, because you can see the dog park is on that trail park. You can see where the dog park is. So the trails are in the back part of the park.
Okay, and also, the road off of Route 12, the long driveway where the Mason lives. Is that in the park?
Maybe Carson knows. It's part of the Girl Scout camp that was there.
Yeah, but I mean, with this new site now,
No, it's his property. He bought the Girl Scout camp, which is outside the park. Demore.
okay, Des Moines.
John Demore.
Yeah, okay.
And that was the entrance for the Girl Scout camp. so
No,
along
I
with
know
the
that,
property.
but this is a large area. I'm just wondering if somehow that got screwed up.
So that's how it got to be the residential.
I don't know. That's all I got.
When was it changed to resident? Was it ever park?
Maybe they never changed it to park because in 1961, there were like maybe 4 or 5 parcels that made up the 204 acres. They were individually owned back in
They're all
1961.
farm lots.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Was the Girl Scout camp ever considered in the park?
No, not that I was aware of. No.
Okay,
It was always outside.
okay,
It bordered the southern side of the park.
right.
So you're looking at
Yeah.
change it if it's,
Yep. Sure.
next board meeting? Okay. Or not 2 weeks, the next board meeting after the next week. Okay. All right. And then this Vincent Xavier, he said he was gonna contact you actually to set up a time. Maybe he can come at the same time as the board meeting, and we could do a public hearing for that.
Absolutely.
So we'll schedule
Good.
a hearing for him, or is that something we could just come in?
Let's wait until I look at this and I'll
Okay.
arrange a time when you can come in.
Okay. Okay.
Because that, you don't need a resolution to do that.
Okay, sounds good.
Nope.
All right, well, thank you, Kathy. All right, any more comments from public? Okay. We have a presentation from Barton LaJudas tonight. Chris Lawton's here, and he's going to do a presentation on stormwater districts we're looking to propose and speak about them.
Mind if I turn this front light off?
No, go ahead.
So again, my name's Chris Lawton. I've been working with the town 5 years now, but there's a couple new faces here, so I'm sure I'll meet you guys after. This has been a conversation. This has been a conversation, I don't know, Rick, probably going on most of the 5 years since I've been working with the town. You guys there's no one that's new to the stormwater issues that the town of New Hartford faces. Paul and I started talking last year about asset management and trying to collect a lot of the data on the stormwater infrastructure that the town has, that Rick and the Highway Department try to manage on an annual basis. And that kind of led into, hey, we've had this town drainage district conversation in the past. It's been talked about and kind of just pushed aside. It's been talked about, pushed aside, so we decided this may be a little overboard, a presentation, but I thought it would kind of tie everyone together, put everything on the same page. We're all looking and talking about the same thing. So any questions, please jump in. I don't mean to... No. So there's a little history here. Rick, I know there's probably more storms than the 4 I say here, but these are the 4 that I remember real big. Is the 2011, the Hurricane Irene and Lee. Those hit pretty hard everywhere. The 2013 storms, those were the big ones that hit Mud Creek. A lot of the Mohawk Valley, where I'm from, Perk, Morelia, Mohawk got slammed with those. There was a storm in 2015, I wasn't sure of the date, but I remember there was a big one then. And then obviously last year, I think we called it the Father's Day storm. I think we're still cleaning up from that. Just a couple pictures. You guys are all familiar with the Big Apple Music area. I found a nice little drone video on Facebook that actually showed this whole Chadwick's area, and it's a nice 10-minute long, guys up and down the street. And then this one was from last year. It wasn't as catastrophic, I think, in wide, but it did hit some areas pretty severely, probably some of the same areas that have hit in the past on these ones.
Would these be considered 100-year?
You know, I think they're all over the place. 2013 definitely was. I'm not sure if last year's was. The problem with the 100-year is the industry's kind of getting away from that classification. I like to call them percent storms. So if you have a 1-year storm or a 100-year storm, that's actually a 1% storm. So you take whatever that year is and divide it by 100. 1% is a little easier to swallow than 100 years because everyone thinks, well, why does it happen more than 100 years? So 1%, 5%, 25%, there's just a probability there.
Okay, thanks.
So I wanted to kind of go back a little bit too with the current method of stormwater management. So right now, the highway department is really in charge with performing all these duties. And that's kind of on top of what the normal highway department really is supposed to handle. Rick's supposed to take care of highways, and he does a lot of other stuff, and I think the drainage kind of falls into some of that as well. There are a lot of O&M capital projects that are really whole town projects. They don't have to be whole town projects. There could be specific to an area, and that's kind of where we're kind of leading to the district, if you will. But right now, if we do something like Grange Hill or Woodbury, that's really spread over the whole entire town. And you know, we can talk about is that fair or is that not fair until we're blue in the face, but that's just how it is right now. The small capital projects, that's just because there really is no reserve funds for the town to use. So we have tax base. That's why the small projects are generally what we do, because we try to minimize that tax burden on the entire town. Where if you do go to a district formation, whether it's a sewer or water, you have that district that benefits from those improvements pays into a reserve fund, and those reserve funds can be used for capital projects, O&M, and such. So the things that Rick does, we're kind of right down here on these bullets. We have 17 plus basins. That's that we know of. I'm sure there's others that we haven't even found yet. Many of those are on private property without even the proper easements that we are able to get onto them. People usually do allow us, but as we find these and we do work on them, we're securing easements. Usually collection system improvements, which include Rick and his guys getting out there, cleaning out the stormwater catch basins, cleaning out those culverts, cleaning out the box culverts, anything that flows water. It's usually on a reactive basis, because let's say someone calls Rick and says, hey, this is overflowing this road. Okay, we go out there. We don't have the manpower or even the mapping and knowledge to actually go around and check everything on an annual basis. Hopefully that's where things ultimately lead to in the future. So again, that's more of a receives and responds to damage complaints and emergency responses. Obviously, when there's the big storms like we showed, that's when the highway department gets in there and either contracts or does it themselves and spends weeks and a lot of money trying to fix those solutions. So what this all kind of leads to right now is Rick has been with the town board going after some grants. Unfortunately, a lot of those grants have matches that need to be 50% match, 25% match. Without those, back to that reserve fund, if we don't have something to pull money from, that's coming out of the whole town primarily, unless we have something set apart for specific, like a Grange Hill bond. That may be part of the match there.
But it still comes out of
It still comes out of the whole town, definitely. So, I'm getting out of my realm here a little bit, but I wanted to put on some town law here. So moving from what I call reactive maintenance and planning into proactive planning, the town law that we do all our districts, whether it's water, sewer, drainage, is Section 190, Article 12. we can utilize the districts. They are written around a specific geographical area so that we select what we want that to be. We, meaning the town board, the community, can say, here's where we want this district boundary to be. It could be as many as you want, one. It's really up to us to decide what the best way to split that up is. It's a funding vehicle, is that third bullet. That we decide how much money goes into that funding, into that district. Is that $1 per house per year? Is it $1,000 per house per year? We get to look at this and decide how much money do we think we're going to need to do these projects, and that's what we put in this map planner report, or this first step. But it can also be changed annually through another process called a 202B, or an improvement to that district. But that's part of the first step that we'll have to get into if the board decides to go forward with some of this. The real property within the district is subject to a special levy or assessment. That's what I said. We get to decide how much do people pay. We can generally, we'll like to base it on ad valorem, but there are many different ways to do it. We can make, with sewers, we'll do a unit basis, where every house is the same if you're a single family, and every house is the same if you're a double family. So we could do something like that too, but ad valorem is probably the most common. And the vehicle for actually legally forming this is called a map plan and report. That defines the boundary, it defines the infrastructure, and it defines the finances. And that is a report that is provided to the board, that the board puts up for public comment. There's a public hearing, and again, the public gets to review this and ultimately has a say as to how this report goes or doesn't go. And then the district's formed. There's two articles actually. There's an Article 12A, which is in yellow here. That's actually a resolution by the board, and then there's a referendum period following that. The other, which is more common with water and sewer, is called an Article 12. If you had an area of, I'll use Grange Hill because that happened recently in my time here, people on Grange Hill want a water district. They would form a petition, bring it to the board, and say, hey, we want this. We have this petition and it's filled out for us. That can start the process as well. But in this case, we would use an Article 12A because the board's starting the process, not the people. Make sense? Yeah, you can. Just the arrow, that's all. So we can fly through this, but this is just the definition of a special district. I'm just going to read it real quick. A town or county improvement district, district corporation, or other district established for the purpose of carrying on, performing, or financing one or more improvements or services intended to benefit the health, welfare, safety, or conveniences of the inhabitants of such district, and in which real property is subject to a special ad valorem levies or special assessment for the purpose for which the district was established. Pretty simple, kind of sums up hopefully what I'm trying to convey. Any questions yet? Pretty straightforward. Probably a lot of stuff you already knew. I have a couple series of maps, and I kind of wanted to zone in on, let's start big. So here is the area we're talking about, New Hartford and beyond, with Utica and the village of New Hartford. What I like about this is it shows all the water paths. For you in the back, you may not see it, but all the blue are all the streams. Water doesn't really care about corporate lines. It doesn't care about district boundaries. It doesn't care about village boundaries. It just goes, right? And you guys live that with Sequoia Creek. You take everyone's water from the south, and you end up having to deal with it up here, and then we pass it on to another town or another village. So go to the next slide, please. So now you overlay the New Hartford boundary. You can see a good portion of several areas, drainage areas, comes into play here. We got Sequoia, which comes from the south. We got the Mud Creek, which comes in from over this way, and then we have a good portion that goes towards the Mohawk River and the canal system. But this shows how much of that area, you know, there's things coming in from every direction. Go to the third one. And this is just our take on the drainage basins and drainage districts. But again, this is, I call them districts, but these are proposed, potential. What you see in red here, each red segment is a drainage basin. So anything around What I have blue called the Sequoia Creek Drainage Basin is everything goes to Sequoia Creek. Everything around this next basin up here that we show in green, the Mud Creek, that's all Mud Creek tributaries. Everything you see there. And everything that we show in the city, this is actually Sherman Hills, I guess we kind of call it, or at least me and Rick call it that, and everything going into the city. So this was our take on splitting things up in drainage basins. So what we try to come up with is a common, how do we tie people in a district together? The drainage basin is kind of what ties them together.
And Chris, you've excluded the villages, because obviously they're a separate municipality.
Correct.
And would have to, on their own initiative, join in or approve.
Correct.
So you've cut them out.
Town law does allow provision for including or
Well,
excluding
but they
villages.
have to-
And in here, I think this is just a case where we don't want to get into that at this
Okay.
point. Ultimately, in the future, things could be done to tie those two together. I think the process is a lot more difficult if you try to do it now. But yeah, so we took out New Hartford and we took out New York Mills. So what I did is I tried to show you the drainage watershed. I also just tried to shade in within the corporate boundary of the town of New Hartford what that individual district would look like, because your district can't leave that corporate boundary. So,
Chris,
Question for you.
Yes,
go ahead.
Now, if the villages did want to come in, New Hartford would go into Sequoia Creek and York Mills would go into Mud Creek?
Primarily, yeah. So unfortunately, this little tab is something we're going to have to discuss. This is all goes to Sequoia, so you will actually have a portion of each.
Okay,
You know, part of this would go to Mud Creek and part of this would go to Sequoia.
okay.
Yes.
Just a question for you. So, if the villages did want to join in, I mean, at this point, is it a lot more work on our side, or is it, you have to just call for a separate vote, or is there a lot more work for them to do? Because a lot of the people in Mud Creek would like to join up and be part of this, because they're the ones being affected, you know, over at, like Royal Brook Lane, Hartford, Henderson, all those areas, there's major impact with flooding, and they'd probably like to get on with doing the retention ponds and stuff that's upstream, you know, past Sangertown up near Middle Settlement Road.
they follow a similar path. In other words, there would be a resolution which is subject to permissive referendum, and they would then vote if they decided to do the referendum, and they could join in with ours and go through the whole process with us. But part of the village or the entire village would control their own destiny. We can't in this determine it. The other legal issue is, the thing that's throwing me off slightly are the red lines, which are larger than the district, because there's something in the statute which correlates the district to the people in the district that are being benefited. So are you saying that people outside the district in those red line areas are being benefited by the district, but they're not in the district and they're not participating with regard to the cost? Because I think that creates a legal issue.
Well, I am saying that the people outside the green, blue, and red are not in the district.
Right.
But they are taking on water from areas outside the district. That's what I'm trying to show here. So you would have someone in the neighboring towns that there could be a project out here.
Are those outside the town?
They are outside the town.
Oh.
So this yellow line is the town of
Never
New
mind.
Hartford. That's what I was
Yep,
trying to show them.
Never mind.
Yeah. So that's why the shape, actually, if you go back one.
I didn't realize that.
So there you go, there's the town. The drainage, though, starts, I'll go back to the other
You
one.
answered my question.
Goes out. Good. So that's kind of why I was trying to narrow it down.
You can't exclude individuals benefited
Correct.
from the district from participating in the district.
Now, to your point, you could, districts can cross lines. So you could have a two-town drainage district. It would take a little more work, and it would take an intermunicipal agreement, and it gets a little more complicated.
Right.
But I think the base is, you start your district here, you can add to districts. You can do
Right.
district expansions and district extensions and district improvements. So once you have the foundation, which is here,
Right.
then you have a means of going to the surrounding areas, the surrounding villages, and having that conversation. And then again, it's
So
all,
we can
it's
build
all
on it.
permissive referendum following each improvement.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But again, this is all up to the board. This is, you know, you could have one district, you can have 10 districts. It really is what makes the most sense and how do you explain why that district is where the boundary is. So I believe there's one more slide here. So I just wanted to kind of talk about the long-term benefits. Don't pay attention to this side yet. We talked a little bit about the knowledge and the capture of the infrastructure that we have that we're working with. One of the benefits that the town has is that the county has an asset management system that they purchased to do all the sewer work that affects the plant. And you guys all know that the towns and the cities have been working on sewer projects for years now. That asset management system was purchased with the intent of using it for sewer, but it can also be used for stormwater. So for you get out, you don't have to purchase the software, which runs in the $50,000 range. You can actually use it, implement it into their asset management system, and it's all captured. Rick actually has a GPS system that he purchased, and that could start tomorrow. So that's something we're kind of working on outside of all this. And you know, succession planning is who's going to be the next highway superintendent. Hopefully we leave them in a better place than they are today. And that means you know where stuff is and you know how it's been maintained over the years. Tax rate stabilization is really just what it says. We're going to know what that improvement, what those improvements are. We're going to plan for them. We're going to know what that cost is on an annual basis. So it helps stabilize it a little bit versus just doing a bond here and a bond there and a bond there. A little more of a planning. Capital planning, that's straightforward. Emergency planning and response, again, that is, we want to make sure that we have some sort of prioritization of how these projects are done. So we're going to have to split them up by district and by capital project, and we're going to have to rank them in some way. We've talked stormwater committee in the past. I know you had one years ago, and we've talked about bringing that back. But there has to be a way to say, here is the complaints. We need to score it. We need to say, how does that fit on this schedule? And here's where we want to spend that funds. And is it a year out? Is it 2 years out? You know, there'll be some method for that.
One of my major things I want to look at, though, is every yearly maintenance that will be able to come out of this. So a perfect example, we put the tributary in down at Mud Creek, 6 years ago. Well, we haven't been back to clean it out yet. This will be something that we can fund projects of cleaning out, tributary, cleaning out, drainage on an annual basis, retention pond, redevelopment or resurfacing. Are those things that we can use this for?
Absolutely, because you have now, you can use the district for it because you're going to have basically a budget for that district. You're going to have all the things, you're going to have all the assets in that district, and we're going to have to come up with a cost to maintain them on an annual basis, and then you're going to have projects within that. So you're going to have an O&M piece of that budget that's going to relate to a ad valorem fee, and you're going to have a capital project piece to that that's going to relate. So you're actually going to have two parts, O&M and capital improvements. And ultimately, the asset management side of it, which is over here, is when you use an asset management system, all your infrastructure is in it. You can actually click on that individual infrastructure because it's in GIS, and you can actually see, if you do it right, when you did what on that piece of infrastructure. When did Rick last go into that basin and maintain it? When did we last touch that catch basin? If you do it right, all that's cataloged. And if we do it right, we have costs. It actually took us this many hours and this much money to do that. Okay, that helps us budget for the next year. So these are just 5 questions that we usually put in presentations when we talk asset management. And it usually gives the person an idea if they currently do it. So one, what is the state of your assets right now? And what is required sustainable level of service? So are you sustaining your assets today? The answer is usually no. And which assets are critical to sustaining performance? So we start with the top, the detention basins, those are usually the most critical, and are they all being maintained and sustainable? Are the critical ones your priority? And
they require the most attention.
They require the most attention. But if you're reactive and not proactive, then usually the answer to that is kind of 50-50. What are the minimal life cycle costs? So, just because you put a detention basin in 15, 20 years ago doesn't mean that it's really like it was then. It may have been filled in, and I think we've seen a lot of that over the last 5 years, is these basins need to
They need to be maintained.
Yeah.
If you don't maintain them, you're gonna have trouble.
And you said these funds can be used for O&M or
O&M.
capital improvements?
Yes, both. So I think you're gonna have two distinct
Yeah.
fees in each district. And then, what is the best long-term funding strategy? And that's just something that I think people have, but it may not be as great as you would prefer. So it just leaves you with a couple things here, and this is all long-term stuff, so.
Can costs be shared by two districts? In other words, the Sequoia Creek impacts Mud Creek up in the right-hand corner, upper right-hand corner of your map. Sequoia Creek impacts Mud Creek. So you've got the Mud Creek Basin and the Sequoia Creek Basin. Can they share costs and for O&M and?
Quick answer is yes. I'll use an example to a water district. You may have two water districts. They're both fed from a main line. They both benefit from that improvement. So you have to do two 202Bs that are improvement plan reports, improvement reports, and you say, you got this share, you got this share for this project. So you define the project and you show the shared cost for each district when you do that. Now O&M, maybe a little tricky, but yes, you could do that too. It depends on what you're doing for the project and what the O&M is.
Yeah. Because as Paul points out, the Mud Creek area in New York Mills, if it was just Mud Creek, there wouldn't be an issue, but Sequoia Creek intercepts it, and that's when it becomes an issue.
Well, yes and no. I mean, Mud Creek down at the confluence is an issue, but there's a lot of stuff up in Mud Creek
Oh, sure.
that can be done that's not going to have anything to do with the Sequoia Creek.
Right, okay.
I mean, those detention basins up,
Right.
we've talked Presbyterian homes and all that.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. So I think it's specific to each year or every other year we come up with these projects. We got to determine, are there any shared costs between the districts?
And I think you touched on this, but we have to, before a public hearing or anything, we have to define the costs
Correct.
per household.
Map, plan, and report, that's
Yes.
what.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at it a little bit because I have all the information, and if you do ad valorem, go back the one slide, I think before this, yeah. So, nope, the one with all the colors, yeah. So obviously you're going to have, oh, that's okay. Obviously you're going to have a lot of costs in this district, right? Or a lot of ad valorem tax base in this system, but really, I think Mud Creek's the one that has the most because it's got all the commercial.
Right.
So we're going to have to look at that together, and we're going to have probably a lot of different tables set up to say, okay, here's if we did, $5 per thousand, it's this, or we're going to have all these numbers, whatever that comes up to be, 100,000, $5 per 100,000. So you're going to come up with these matrix and say, okay, what does that give us after a year?
You're gonna help us with those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because you have to have that in the map plan report to finalize it. So there's going to be a step where we say, okay, give us all the properties in Mud Creek, and then we split them up by property class, how many in each property class, and how much is each property class worth.
Okay.
And then we do a fee schedule, and we ultimately present that. So you're going to have a tough time with this one because it's all residential and it's the smallest. You're probably going to have an easier time with Mud Creek because it does have a lot of tax base to it. And I think, Sequoia's going to be probably right in the middle there. But we just got to make sure we know if we have a lot of projects here, we want to step back and go, okay, how many projects do we have kind of in waiting? And I think Rick can rattle them off better than I can, but that's probably what's going to determine how much each district needs to raise. Because if we end up with $20,000 a year, it's probably not going to go too far past maintenance.
And there could theoretically be a lot of projects in that city.
Absolutely. So, the nice thing about the city, and we've talked offline on this internally to B&L, is there is a lot of advantage to working with the city on projects too. So you can't really include them in your district, but we can go to them and say, hey, we can do this. That's all ultimately coming to you anyway. Can we do some shared costs there? And I think that benefit isn't everywhere else. So.
The Buck property on 12 feet, most of those issues actually come from the town of Kirkland.
Right.
So I hope we have done enough to hold him accountable for the system that they're saying is going to work. In fact, it's going to be better than we've ever had up there. He's still going to pay if he's in the Sequoia drainage, or no, he would be in Mud Creek.
Mud Creek.
Mud
He's-
Creek.
He's gonna be responsible for his project, and he's still gonna pay into the system.
Oh, correct, yeah. And that again is in the fee schedule, you're gonna be able to look at those properties, you know, and I think generally, municipalities try to take the burden off the single-family residences and the farmers and put it more on, you know, the businesses and the commercials. That's just how I've seen it in the past. I don't think that's unfair, I just think that when you have a business and a development coming in, you're gonna know now, I'm coming into this district and here is the fees.
And these would be special districts, a tax exempt property still pays.
No, I think tax exempt are out.
I've seen it both ways.
Have you really?
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Well, these are
you-
user fees though,
Yeah.
right? I mean, these are user fees. What-
Well, there's a debt service fee in a way.
The other thing is, we've got the mitigation fees from the GEIS. I've
Right.
got to see what effect this would have on the mitigation fees that have already been paid by
That's where
the.
you're going.
I think the comptroller looks at it, is there a direct benefit? And that may determine whether they are charged or not.
Okay,
Actually, you should be able to use GIS money to even do the plan for that section of that
absolutely,
as an improvement.
absolutely.
But that's
Tax
above and
exempt.
beyond, that's
That
the
was the whole
mitigate
purpose
issues
of
that
the
they had,
mitigation
right?
fees.
This is more, looking at it as more of a maintenance, user fee, this is to clean things, these are to
Right.
get things prepped. to
The
get
other was
ready
for
a
capital
storm.
improvements.
Right, so we're not, right now, at this point, there might be money there in another section, like you said, we could put two different, accounts together, but one would just be used for maintenance only, you know, in here. And then another thing I was looking at too, we have a triggering mechanism for, businesses or land that has, you know, over a certain, number of permeable space per se. So if you have, you know, a parking lot with 4,000 cars, even that your assessment might be a little bit lower, that there's a triggering mechanism to say, okay, listen, when you have this much concrete and pavement, then there's an additional fee, you know, for having that also, because they are a big contributor to the water issues that we have.
You could, I mean, the fee schedule is really up to you. I mean,
Okay.
there's examples out there, but, you know, I think that's when we get into the details, and that's the type of stuff that we gotta start talking about.
Well, to take for example, like Mud Creek project, we have a drawing done, a study we've looked at for years, the county's willing to help us, but, you know, they had the 50/50 grant out there now. So if we got money in that district, in a commercial district, that's one of the things that we can, you know, do, one of the projects that we can take care of on that end, and then still have maintenance money in there to maintain that project for years to come. So we just don't put it up and then we say, well, now we got no money to maintain it, so now it's back to, you know, square one again. So,
The one thing I will say is that I've heard over, you know, a couple conversations that there may have been some other districts in the past
Drainage
that were
districts?
done, drainage, smaller ones. And I just think we gotta do some research and try
Oh, yeah,
to
'cause they'd
go
have to
back
be
in and find,
dissolved.
go back and find them, dissolve them, is there any remaining debt in them, that type of thing. Not that it hasn't been done before, but I'd hate to get into a situation where there's overlapping, and
No, they'd have to be.
just one of those
nobody
things
got-
that,
There's about
12,
10, 12
maybe
maybe.
it's 12 of them,
and usually they revolve around developments.
that's what they were.
Yeah. So it was when the development was formed, they had a district, and maybe it was forgotten and they never really did anything, but there's a district there, so there's some research there on the front end, I think, just to make sure we know where those are in that one.
Have we assessed any fees as against no district charges?
No, but I have.
Oh, good, okay,
So just want to make you aware.
thanks.
Go
I
ahead.
got a question. Any other municipality, town that Barton Judas is the engineer for that has done something like this?
Drainage districts?
Drainage districts, and how are they working?
We've done many. They work great. The biggest, I don't want to call it issue, obstacle is to select what projects are done on a priority basis. That's probably, I mean, and that's a good problem to have, but it's going to get easier as time goes on, because hopefully you're going to minimize the number of projects you have over the course of years. So it's always the beginning that's the toughest, because you're going to get we're going to have to come up with a way to get complaints. We're going to have to come up with a way, how do we rank those complaints? And then how do we, come out with we have to show everyone, here are all the projects and here's why they're ranked this way. And so someone says, well, why are you doing that one before mine? you know, you can get that one road pinned against another road type scenario. So we just gotta make sure that we're doing it transparent, and, you know, there is a way that we can do that. So, yes, right. Lysander in Syracuse is probably the biggest one that we do right now.
Yep.
Town of Owasco, near Owasco Lake, and the Finger Lakes are really starting to do those because of all the algae blooms. You got all that nitrogen going into the lake, and it's causing problems, so they're all starting to do exactly this.
How did Lysander do their ad valorem? Did they?
Yeah,
Specific?
they started theirs out. I want to say it was like $20 or $30 per 100,000 or something like that.
Okay.
And then I think they would increase it from year to year depending on what projects they had.
Okay.
So some years it went down, then other administration came in, and it went up. So, and those were all 202Bs, map and plans. So once you get the report side of it,
You have to do it every time.
You just
right?
update. You got to update the plan, put
Right.
it back out to the public.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Couple questions. Is there anything to preclude the town from an asset management standpoint of just attacking this problem on a townwide basis and assessing a townwide levy?
I mean, you would have a district for the drainage?
For the town.
You can have a
Townwide.
townwide district. Yeah.
So there's
People do it with water districts similar, they just do it the whole town. And then if you got water, you have a charge, but if you don't have water, you have a small charge because you have the benefit of being in the district down the road. Here, it's a little different because everyone has drainage problems for the most part. But you could have a townwide, absolutely.
do you have any numbers, you know, relative to population densities, relative to parcel sizes or district sizes?
I do, not off the top of my head, but yeah, I mean, I have all the tax parcel data for the whole town. I could just throw
Well, that's what you're going to do with the plan.
That's what we're going to do, but like I said, this, you know, there may have been $800 million here, and there may be $500 million here. And, you know, there may be $400 million here, so we got to break that up. And then each property class can have a separate fee schedule. They don't have to, but you can, you know, we do with sewer and water, we do single families 1 unit, double families are 2 units. And then commercials is based on water usage, or it's, you know, every 30,000 gallons you use, you get a unit. So, and that a unit keeps everyone equal. So if you use 3 times the sewage or water, you should pay 3 times the fee. You really can't do that with drainage districts, unfortunately, because there's no way to really quantify it. So you got to kind of, ad valorem is kind of where you're left.
Well, that was kind of what the gentleman was alluding to. When you have a lot more hardscape, you're generating a lot more runoff. So
Yeah.
that indirectly is putting a different assessment on a person that's contributing more to the problem.
And that's why I said absolutely you could do that. It's just all part of the fee schedule. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's my opinion, or in my reading, I believe that real property tax law is what determines who pays for what. In other words, as a ad valorem, it is a tax, therefore not-for-profits don't pay. They would pay for capital expenses, but they would not pay for O&M if it's ad valorem. So you might want to look at a user fee.
I'm going to rely on the attorney for that one in the end, yeah.
Well, no, Kathy and I talked about that before, and that's what we found.
As a user fee, everybody pays,
Right.
because it's a
And as
benefit.
a user fee, when they come in for a surgery, they challenge their tax. They
This
don't,
doesn't get changed.
that
Right.
doesn't change.
Not user.
Am I correct?
Right.
Well, especially in the.
Well, if their assessment goes down, then the price goes down.
But we do have to look at the not-for-profits.
Okay, yeah. And then again, that'll all shake out.
Just again, just so you keep it on the same, the O&M for the continuing maintenance is a user's fee that we should have everyone pay for. Now, if we do a capital project part, that might be a little bit different. But the user fee, though, for continuing maintenance is something that we charge everybody, non-for-profits, commercial, residential, farm, agriculture, everybody. I mean, that's the main, right? Is that what you're?
I think we got to do a little homework, and we got to figure out which one's which, yeah.
I think we got to be very clear as to whether it's a user fee or not. Right.
Okay.
And
Whether it's
that'll all
going for
shake out.
O&M or capital.
And then the biggest thing I'd like is a triggering mechanism as, you know, permeable space grows, there's an additional cost to that too. There's got to be something to say, I mean, again, if somebody puts in blacktop, you know, for 5 acres, there's got to be a cost because they're going to have way more storm water drainage runoff than, you know, a house.
Yeah.
You know, some of our homes in our town, are assessed as much as some of, areas that have parking lots, you know what I mean? So,
And
so
residential, you're right.
Right.
Is where people get away from that, but the nice thing about the stormwater management rules now is that if you are over an acre, all of a sudden you get hit with that anyway. You have to do all that stormwater on your own property.
Right.
Your post-construction water cannot exceed your pre-construction water.
Right.
And that's something that's new as of like 2010.
Right.
So,
And that's where we have to hold the developer.
correct.
but I mean, the old
The old way.
way that was done,
Right.
again, they bring on a lot of water and drainage issues
Yeah.
to the residents that have small little homes, which, that's something that we again, they're gonna need more maintenance in those areas. So, like doing a town-wide is great, but like Mud Creek Drainage District with all the commercial, of course, they have the most assessment, but that's really where the major projects would go on and the most maintenance, I would believe, too. I mean, there's a lot of little projects that here to fix, but I think your major projects are up in that area, I would say. I don't know, maybe I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, the tough thing with stormwater is, with the commercial drive area, you're really at the bottom of the drainage basin. So where you have a lot of your impervious area right now, that water's all gone before the flooding really happens. It's really these areas here that water ultimately makes its way down. By the time that water hits that bottom, it's already flooded, and that's when things happen. So you would probably nowadays see a lot more stormwater basins in commercial drive than you do now, if it was, if all that stuff was created today.
Right.
But I don't necessarily know if that's where a lot of the problem area is, but you can kind of catch
Oh,
up.
Route 12, what you were saying, that's included in the district too, though. That whole area right there is all drainage district that's there.
So in the end, you definitely can build in a mechanism for that impervious area.
Okay.
So that's all I got.
All right.
Can I ask,
Yeah, go ahead.
your plot of these districts is based on existing problems, I'm assuming.
The district is really just based on drainage basin. So
Right.
the red areas really is any water inside this area goes
Yep.
to Sequoia Creek,
Right.
and any area, any water that falls in this area goes to Mud Creek.
We have, what, 10 or 12 serious areas every time it rains hard?
Sure, yeah.
Have you plotted those on that map, just so you can identify where those are relative to these basins?
I have not put them on this map, but I know where they are, yeah. I mean, that's probably a good starting point. Ultimately,
It just
further.
kind of makes sense that if you should start with your known problems, because your O&M, in theory, is going to take care of a lot of the other minor
Right,
problems.
and I think that's where the prioritizing step comes in. We know the severe ones; those are going to be at the top of the list. And then you're also going to say, how many people does that problem affect? That's going to be at the top of the list.
That's the real key.
So I think then you start working your way down to just individual properties, because they're only affected, a few people.
Yeah. I say the O&M should take care of a lot of it, I suspect.
Correct. Yeah. But there's a lot of places where there's nothing to maintain because there's no stormwater infrastructure. So again, that is probably going to be a priority. Getting some of that stormwater infrastructure to minimize those impacts. Yeah.
How does this, we improve things greatly now. Sequoia Creek is much improved, the volume is down, and it goes into the town of Whitestown.
They benefit.
And the Sequoia Creek Basin doesn't do anything south of us, and it's bad, and we still have to deal with it when it gets to us. Is there any way to?
Yeah, you could ultimately, that's the intermunicipal working, consolidation of services. Start talking to the other municipalities.
Because if we improve the Sequoia Creek in our town,
Yeah,
that's gonna have a major impact on Whitestown.
upstream. Yeah.
Oh, sure, no, I agree.
And similarly, if Paris, if Paris did some of this, it would help you guys. So
Right.
that's where
Paris is not, I don't think is the huge contributor, but,
I just
Yes.
use them as an example.
right.
Yeah.
But we definitely contribute to the town of Whitestown issues.
Yes. Same thing with Mud Creek. Look how much of this area is not in the town
Right,
of New Hartford.
right, town of Kirkland.
We've even identified a couple areas in Kirkland where the town would want to build retention ponds because it would benefit you ultimately, which can be done. It's gotta just be done through
Mud Creek starts in Kirkland.
intermunicipal agreement. So they could form their own district. You can't form a district in someone else's town, but they, you know, we could talk to them and form a district there. That's just it's a tough battle. We've dealt with it a couple times in it.
And I reached out to Sean over in Whitesboro and stuff too already, and, you know, he's willing to work with us. But I think this just starts us somewhere, at least to get my biggest thing is the maintenance, the yearly maintenance. Am I right, Rick? I mean, this would take care of our current maintenance. We don't have to go out right now for capital projects, but the few capital projects we do want to take on that does help right here in this district, the county right now has that program that they're giving us 50-50 match, which, you know, if we, the only other way we can do anything is if we go out to bond more, which we don't really want to do that because it doesn't help the town as a whole, at least my opinion only, but this way here, we'll have some money to do some smaller projects with this, and we'll have some money to actually do yearly maintenance, which, you know, could have helped us out a lot in the previous storms. So, yes.
I'm assuming the highway budget's gonna go down when these special districts go up?
Well, there's no budget in here now, we're just bonding for these projects.
No, his labor and the rate all the time. And
Well, again, his labor is really gonna go towards the you know, the leaf collection that, you know, we really haven't had as many guys out there doing. I mean, he's gonna go back to his actual. Huh?
You're gonna go to 2 trucks, you said.
Yeah, but we're gonna actually be out there doing the stuff that we were supposed to be doing. Because actually, drainage is not part of DPW's job description anyway. I mean, Rick does it above and beyond, and he does a great job helping. But we lack a lot because we don't have the, you know, the means to do it. And if you look last year, all the drainage work that we did came out of, you know, out of the budget and came out of money that could have been used town-wide for certain little projects.
Do you have any idea what the cost to Rick is to do the O&M that he's been doing?
I mean, it's not reactive, so we're not doing O&M right now. We're doing proactive. Once things happen, we go out and clean them and fix them. But we don't have a maintenance schedule. We're not doing maintenance regularly on drainage items.
You're not ditching?
I haven't seen any. I mean, we've done a couple again after the floods. We went out and did some ditching, but again, it's not on a periodic basis.
Well, you have that anyways, you could break that out.
I do.
So the intent would be to let an O&M contract every year to do maintenance work by a let contract?
We can do it in-house, or we can do it, you know, by contracting it, either way.
Well, he basically just kind of said that Rick doesn't have the manpower and the staff to be doing the O&M.
Right, well, we would have summer help. We would increase the budget for the summer help to have more guys on to do the O&M.
So we would do O&M with our own staff?
I think that's probably the best way. I mean, we're getting the machines to do it, and I think in-house is the best because we can get people out there the quickest, you know. And as you looked, I don't know if you looked at last year's budget, but, you know, we spent with a private contractor, I mean, close to $1 billion of work that probably could have been done for, you know, a third of that price if we did it in-house. You know, if we had the equipment to do it. So, you know, it's really not cost effective when you come to those big jobs. I mean, if we're just doing lawns, yeah, it would be great to sub all lawns out because that's, you know, you can get that for pennies on a dollar, but when you're doing this kind of work, it gets very expensive, especially when they're charging you by the hour for their machines and you know, equipment. So that gets very costly. In fact, we had a discussion here, you know, last time about this, and, you know, there was, you know, it was a big cost to it at the end of the day. So, okay.
Mr. Sherman does have the proper equipment. He'd be able to do it, you know, quicker, easier, faster.
Sure.
Save the town a lot more money. You know, you got a 3-man crew together. You definitely do a lot of work.
Well, a perfect example, we just had a previous, you know, the melting and stuff, and we had some backup and things. We had logs over the creek on 9th Street, and, you know, residents were calling. You can't get a private contractor out there in that kind of time. You know, if we had the machine, we drive down there and get the logs out of the creek.
Going to respond that fast.
Right.
I mean, if you had an excavator, you could walk up to the creek, start cleaning it out. You know.
So, but
and when you're talking equipment, you know, 2-3 guys could do a lot of work at the end of the day. They could do a lot of work, you know, rather than laborers, you know. Equipment does a lot of work.
more questions? Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Nice job.
Good job on the other
Turn the heat down in here.
Yeah.
I was next to that projector.
So what's our next steps?
Well, we would pass a resolution which is subject to a permissive referendum if you wanted to go forward. This is a resolution, I don't know if everybody saw it. It indicates it's subject to permissive referendum. It says that at a regular meeting of the town board of the town of New Hartford, Oneida County, New York, held at Butler Memorial Hall in the town of New Hartford on the 7th day of February, is today 7th?
Yes.
Of February 2018 at 6 o'clock. Meeting was called to order by Supervisor Miscioni, present, David Reynolds, Richard Woodland, James Messa, and Philip Citadino. Following resolution was offered by, who moved it, seconded by, and the resolution is dated February 7, 2018. And this is a resolution which is prepared under the town law of the state of New York, authorizing the preparation of a map and plan for drainage improvements. And it's in the plural, map, maps, and plan, plans, because as I understand it, there would be 3 separate plans, separate and distinct plans, and I'm guessing 3 separate maps. Be it resolved by the town board of the town of New Hartford, Oneida County, New York, as follows. Section 1, and I asked Chris what the charge to prepare would be, and he said it would be $5,000 for each, for a total of $15,000 is hereby appropriated. So I filled in $15,000 is hereby appropriated to pay the costs associated with the preparation of one or more maps and plans providing for drainage improvements in certain portions of the town. Such maps and plans to be prepared in accordance with the requirements of town law. This resolution is adopted subject to permissive referendum. And you have to say it because it is subject to a permissive referendum. And if someone moves it and seconds it, I would log the vote in, and I have the necessary forms prepared for Gail because it would be required that a notice of adoption of the resolution would have to be posted, as she's well aware, and there's also a certification to certify that the posting has been done.
May I, or not?
Can we do that without knowing in advance the costs?
No,
Okay.
this is just to do the, you don't know the costs at this point.
Right.
This is
Just
by
to
law.
have him do the maps.
Yeah, and as I gave you section 191A.
Right, all I'm saying is
Of
maps
the-
and plans, what are plans?
So, yeah, let me explain what the scope is, more or less.
Maps
So-
I got,
So,
what are
the-
plans?
the scope essentially involves writing a district boundary around every parcel in that district. So there's a written district boundary, and then there's a map that
Specific.
goes along with each one by this property line northeast along this property, all the way around.
Right.
In addition to that, we will have to meet several times to figure out what are the costs, what are the projects that you're gonna ultimately need as the financing in each district. So that's gonna be kind of a couple workshops to go through the matrices that we talked about, the benefits in each district. And then ultimately, the report is, here's the background, here's how we came up with all those costs, here's how we came up with the boundary, and it's set for a public hearing, and everyone gets to, we present it,
That's the plan.
that's the plan.
And then he'll be able to say, here's what it's gonna cost you per thousand.
Right.
So each district fee for engineering, if passed, so you have to get past the referendum period, if it's actually passed and established, that $5,000 gets put into that district. Up until that point, it's essentially, it's town funds, you're hoping that it's gonna pass, and then it gets put in the district. So,
Right.
like a water district, if the water district's voted down, but you did the map and plan, that cost is a town cost. If it's voted in, then that cost is a district cost. Does that make sense?
191A of the town law says the town board of any town may adopt a resolution subject to a permissive referendum appropriating a specific amount to pay for the cost of preparing a general map and plan for providing, in this case, it's going to be drainage improvements in any town, not including within the boundaries of the village. That's why these were accepted out, because this does not include the village unless they join in. And this is subject to referendum. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just, again,
Is that okay with,
Yeah, let's go ahead, yeah.
it's his meeting.
I know, that's why
I'm sorry, I can't tell you to speak.
That's fine, go ahead.
you know, much like the cell tower, you're putting stuff out for a permissive referendum. You haven't told the public anything. Where's your transparency you ran on?
Well,
I
what
guess
we're
I don't
telling,
understand.
what we're telling the public is that this board is passing a resolution to spend $15,000 to prepare a map and plan, and under 191 of the town law, it's subject to a permissive referendum, so that anyone can petition within that 30-day period to have it go to a referendum as to whether
I agree.
to spend the 15, this is just spend the 15.
No,
I'm sorry.
it's more form than anything.
Okay.
Well, it's
How is anybody gonna know that they've got the right to get
She's
sick?
gonna post it. It's gonna be in the paper, and it's gonna
Yeah,
be posted,
website.
and it's gonna be on the website. That's why I did the notice of posting and everything.
And it also was in the paper already, I think Saturday or Sunday, and they're also doing another article after this meeting on it to come to the, so I guess I don't know.
I guess I just, say like
I don't know how
I
they'd be any more transparent than that.
Kathy, I think you wanted to say
The
something.
issue, I believe, is you have to dissolve your other ones before you can create new ones.
Right, that'll be part, that he's just preparing a map and plan. That's all he's doing.
So this is
And as
based,
part of the plan, we may find out that there are other ones, and if there are, they're gonna have to be dissolved if they overlap. We don't even know yet, Kathy. We don't have a plan.
You'll have to accept the plan and establish the district at some later date.
And then
That's a
we would-
whole different,
Right,
process.
That's down the road
that you're right,
after a
has to
public
dissolve
hearing
those.
okay,
and so forth.
But this is just to see cost
just to spend
and
money.
to see what it is.
Right.
We might get it back and we might say, we don't even want it, so we're not even at that point, but we will never know nothing if we don't try, and I guess it's just an idea brought, by me, and again, the only thing I could do is bring an idea, and
It could
if,
help the whole town if it works
Right,
out.
if it
It's a great-
works,
it's a
it's
great
great.
idea.
If
If it
it
works out,
doesn't-
we really don't know the whole thing until he brings it forward.
I think we did this.
It's a small amount to pay to
Right.
really help the whole town.
We did this, didn't we, Jim, with the water district for Chadwick's or Grange Hill or whatever, and we saw the cost, and that was gonna be broken up by only 20 people or something. It was prohibitive, so we didn't go any further.
It didn't work, right?
Right, but Kathy, I agree with you 100% that if there are existing districts, which I don't know about, they're gonna, and if we decide to create districts down the road, they're gonna have to be dissolved. And we don't, I'm not trying to be adversarial in
No,
any
I'm
way,
not either.
shape, or
I
form.
provided them, Rick has the other districts. I
Good.
had them all.
Okay, that's great.
and I have them.
Yeah, you have them.
Yeah, so I have them.
So clearly, if we go forward to establish districts, before they're established, those have to be dissolved, and I thank you for that input.
So again, I guess just to explain, this is an idea that I came up with, because, Jim knows, mostly, Dave's got a lot of issues in his district. We have to take care of at least the maintenance part of it, I think. Maintenance is key. All summer, we told people we were gonna do something. Well, guess what? In a regular budget, there's no money to keep all these things going. So, this is an opportunity for your people that want to participate in it. They'll be getting their maintenance. This is money that's only allocated for those things. It's not going to be used for anything else. So, again, just an idea that I had. I spoke to the paper about it. They wrote a little article about it. Everything that's here, we're going to post on the website. And again, this is just to go out to see if the costs make sense and if it enables us to do something. And then we can meet with the county on grant stuff and see, or at least this starts something. Because if we don't do something, we're gonna do nothing, because there's nothing else to do that I can come up with. So this is just an idea and something that other towns, Chris has talked about. I've called some other people from other towns, and this works for them. So if it works for us, it might be something great, but at least it will take care, my biggest thing is at least the maintenance. And if there is a grant to fix, some smaller projects that we do have in line, I think there's one off Sylvan Glen, in fact, right? Isn't there one on Sylvan Glen?
Yes.
There's an issue up there. I mean, again, people are suing us for this.
Oh, yeah,
So,
we've been to court.
Right.
And the court has indicated you guys should try and do something
Right.
to alleviate that.
So this is the project, here that I'm looking at, that could alleviate those small projects and taking care of them. So again, it's just, an idea, and, I can only bring it to you, so.
Let's see if anybody makes the motion. You want me to read the resolution again? It's very simple. It says 15,000 is appropriated to pay the costs associated with the preparation of maps and plans for drainage improvements, and they're to be prepared in accordance with the town law, and this resolution is subject to permissive referendum.
I think we have to
I think we have to,
explore something. I mean,
there's a need for it.
the supervisor brought up an idea. Again, we know there's maintenance, there's also projects, and, if we don't have the funds, we are bonding and so forth. So, with that, I'll make the motion to kind of explore this and move it to the next step.
Second.
Motion by Jim, second by Phil. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Dave, did you vote?
Yes.
Aye?
Aye.
There's the,
Public Works and Sewer Committee, we have two contracts. One is for Woodbury. I'll wait till Herb's done, but he reviewed the contracts for Woodbury.
certification for the posting. There's the notice of posting. Okay?
We got two contracts. One's for Woodbury and Oxford Road area. Did you review this? Herb? Or these are two contracts.
Okay.
If you want to review them, actually, we'll
Yeah.
go. Okay. Next, Zoning and Codes and Planning Committee. Rich.
We got the training for the Assistant Code Officer, Mr. Barcom, to attend his required codes training. The classes will be held in Latham, New York, and there's state classes at no cost. I'll move that we send our Assistant Code Officer to that training.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Jim. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous?
We've got the unsafe building hearings. I'm sure the attorney will probably have some information on that, the demolition.
Can you go past that one?
Sure. All right, next one, Senior Citizens Committee. Dave?
You've got to accept a donation of $100 and make the appropriate budget adjustments, increasing A6772.4 by $100 and increasing 2706.9 $100. I'll make that a form of a motion.
Motion by Dave,
Second.
second by Jim. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
And also, we've received a check for $1,495 for the Senior Volunteer Recognition Program. It's a donation from the Capital District's Physicians Health Plan. Make a motion that we accept that donation and make the appropriate budget adjustments in the same line items that I mentioned in the other one.
Motion by Dave,
Second.
second by Jim. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous?
Gail, have you got those figures?
These are fine. The only concern I have is on the Woodbury one. I'm still nervous about the trees being marked before Mr. Bray proceeds. So Rick, you'll
I'm meeting with Dave Reynolds, we're gonna go out and mark those trees.
and you're gonna let her see them, because I just don't
Yeah,
want to have the trees taken down
right.
and find out we took down the wrong trees.
And to go along with that, do you know the exact, the boundary that is ours now?
I'll find it.
I think it's state,
It's staked,
because we were going ahead to take the property.
right. And the reason why we're signing the contracts and getting this moved forward on both contracts, Woodbury and Phase 2 of Grange, is so that we don't run into the bat tree.
Right.
So this will give the contractor ample time to go out there, we'll mark the trees and get them down before the deadline.
The only question I get, it does say article, to perform pursuant to Article 1 within the time specified in accordance with the terms, conditions, and provisions of this contract and with the instructions, order, and directions of the engineer. We don't have an engineer per se that is going to be supervising this, right?
No.
So, should we have Chris involved? This is that Woodbury behind that house on the bottom, which you're well familiar with.
Good, yeah, I mean, I've been involved to some degree anyway with Jim, just approving submittals, just to make sure it moves forward, but it's simple enough, I don't think there's.
Would that involve a lot of work?
Yeah, it's just making sure that he's built it to plan, that's really what, you know, I think I could do that.
Based on the litigation, I think we should authorize Chris to do that.
Agreed. So can we approve that pending the?
No, because it provides that it's based on Chris's directions.
I honestly think that could probably be done somewhat out of the 2018 budget, Paul, that we had discussed in the past. And I sent you that proposal too. We haven't done the annual budget, but there is a budget item, and I, you know, for a few hours, I think it's probably worth me stopping out there and keeping tabs on Jim, and he's pretty good at calling me when things go in, so I think we can do that out of that without having a separate budget item for Woodbury.
Can he then define the boundaries?
The survey already, I think it's already stated.
Yeah, the surveyor should have already done it.
Okay, we're gonna go
We've
by
got
the
a map.
stakes that,
Yeah, oh yeah, we've got a map.
okay.
And
That's how he drew the easement for me, the meets and bounds based on his map.
So
And
we're gonna
that's
go out
what she
there
gave us.
and look at the stake and say,
Right, right,
okay,
you are.
Chief, you'll be coming with us.
these two gentlemen are going. I'm staying on the road.
Yeah, those are fine. On the unsafe buildings, I got a call from one, and I don't know, Joe, did you get a call as well? From one of the banks is in the process of getting an estimate for the demolition, and then they were gonna contact you to get a demolition permit. I don't know which one, it's one of these two though.
No, I had some inquiries on 3549. People are interested in purchasing it.
Okay.
3535, I've heard nothing on as far as Bleachery.
Is that Bleachery?
Yep. And
That's the one that they were gonna demolish themselves.
Who?
The bank was getting estimates to do the demolition.
I don't recall 3535 being in the control of the bank. It was Magadoo.
That was the one with the people sitting on the floor?
No, that's what it was. There was two on Willow, or on Bleachery.
Oh, I may have the different one.
One did some repairs and so forth, right?
They took care of a lot of the garbage.
The other one was
That's the bank.
That's fine, I'm gonna.
Right. The other one is the one that I think the person was deceased, and the foundation is,
Yeah, it's just sitting there.
yeah.
Why don't I follow up on that? Which one's that?
That's 3535.
Yeah.
Okay.
And 9240 Willowvale Ave,
Yeah.
Kerrigan property. Elm Street is taking care of itself, it's been sold and currently under rehab, so
Good.
that's good.
Rich, I'll check, because somebody called me on one of these, and I don't remember which one.
Yeah, I just know we went through the whole process, and I just didn't want that to fall.
Going back to the Woodbury and Oxford Road area contracts, could I have a motion to approve those?
I'll second.
Motion by Dave, second by Rich. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Here.
You have to sign.
Yeah, I know. No, that's a one. All right, second one is the contract for Grange Hill, the downstream improvements. I have those contracts here. It's prepared. These are
Yes, I
these are
reviewed.
okay? Okay.
Rick provided them to me.
Okay. Have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Jim? Okay. Second by Phil. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, next thing, so Chris can go. Chris gave me some information here. One was, I guess there's a bill still outstanding, correct, Chris?
Actually, no, those are, that's different. These two
Okay.
things are the 2018 agreement
Okay.
for engineering services is one of them. The second thing, actually, the one on top here is Rick and I have met with the DEC.
Mhm.
If you remember, part of the problem with the contract number 2 for Grange Hill was the DEC permit. Originally, it was gonna be the county soil and water was gonna help us get the permits and push them through. That didn't happen. That eventually fell on us. We went with the DEC, and the DEC said, in order for us to permit this, you guys have to do what's called the HECRAS model.
Yep.
HECRAS model is something we were trying to avoid by using the county to get us through this, but it really is making sure that there is zero rise from the effect of the new water that's going in. Now, I think it's kind of silly because the water's already going there anyway, but in order for them to give a permit, they're gonna want someone to sign off on that, and what we do is we go out and we find the FEMA model that was created when the flood insurance maps were generated. We take that information, those cross sections of the stream, and we plug it into what's called a HECRAS model. There's an acronym that stands for Hydraulic Environmental Centers for River Analysis Systems or something. I don't even know, I don't do it, so. But the proposal is for us to do that.
Right.
And Rick will not be able to get a permit for that
Right.
project to start until we
I
actually
need-
complete this.
I need this permit,
So,
or in this study,
Right.
so I get the permit. Those two things are holding up my grant from the county of $205,000.
so it is a project expense under the bond that you have. Unfortunately, I feel bad throwing this onto you, but it's something that came up quite recently, so we wanted to get it. The second thing, Paul, that I gave you was just for 2018.
Okay, we'll go over that. Let's do this one first. So this is for part of the Grange Hill project, so the money would come out of the bond for that. So, $6,500 for the total fee. Motion by Jim. Second by Phil. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay.
And I did give you copies to hand out. On each one, so
Okay.
that's the agreement.
Oh, this is the, yeah. I have one of them. All right, second thing is Chris had, I guess, found an extra bill.
Well, no, I didn't necessarily find an extra bill.
Too bad you didn't
We've been
bring it
finding
over.
it.
I know, yeah, right. So one of the things we have been discussing is construction, inspection, and observation services for the Grange Hill project in total. We had never actually billed the town for it, and we realized that the town actually approved a contract for $42,000 in August of 2016. So as part of this $900,000 bond, there's actually an agreement that already says, hey, we're gonna approve the design. If you remember when, again, Soil and Water said, or the town said, we don't want you to do the design for the bonds, we want P&L to do it. We had design and construction services. So I had talked to Paul about saying, hey, is this still valid? Can we use this authorization since it was signed in 2016, or do you want to bring it back to the board? That was the conversation we had. So
I said bring it back to the board, so.
that's not, this that you have in front of you is this $6,500 HECRAS model that you just approved.
That's for the new permit.
This agreement is the 2018 that we have to approve. The lost bill, if you will, is not in front of you. So I just wanted to tell you that we have an agreement that already says, P&L can do the work for $42,000. I want to kind of ask, do you want to see that again? Because I don't want to just build a town, or do you say, hey, if it was approved in 2016, we got to run with it? It's one of those things, it's kind of a tough question, it's a unique situation, but I kind of want it out there.
I honestly, I didn't remember, but I just wanted to bring it to the board because we're paying it now.
Right.
And then we had that issue, last time we had an issue that, we paid something so far and, afterwards that, it came in. So I just want to.
Right, because remember, we adjusted, I think, the procurement policy, so you probably want to do it again.
Yeah, I would, that's why I thought, just bring it to the board and you guys, you could do it again.
So I will give it to you, and you can have it at the next meeting.
Okay.
And you'll see the agreement that was signed, and we'll just reestablish that this part 3, which is construction inspection services, is approved again, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That way we don't see a bill that some people say, where did this come from?
I recall that I didn't know it was, we talked about Rachel.
I know.
But, I think I recall it, I do recall it, but I didn't know when it was in. It was 16.
Very convoluted the way it was going through.
Oh, I know.
So the only one that you didn't do a resolution for is the 2018 services. That's the agreement that you have right here.
Right.
This one there. Yeah, that's the 20,000 that's already been appropriated. We just need to contract with the town for it.
So, can I have a motion that we approve the contract for 2018, $20,000? Motion by Jim,
Second.
second by Dave, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We got a lot to do now. So if any of you guys have any comments on the district stuff, obviously please get a hold of me. I'll probably try to figure out a committee to work with me on this. I'll work through the supervisor to try to see how we want to do that. So consider it at least.
That's your card.
That.
You need one?
You don't? I just need that one and just $6,500.
I gave you that already.
Oh, you did?
And then here, if you give this to Gail for filing,
Yeah. Thanks,
it's all
guys.
set. Thank you. And then this is yours too, that you gave me? Oh, no, this is for that. No. There you go.
Yeah, that's the,
Okay.
or the insurance.
All right. Anything else anybody wanted to bring up? Anything new?
Establish my committee.
Obviously, call me.
Oh, okay. Sure, well, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm going to establish a committee to explore the updating our handbook. I'd like Barb Swanschweier to be on there, I'd like Attorney Cully. I'm going to be on there as far as the ethics committee, and I've asked Rich Craig as HR representative from private business also to be on there. And take a look at it going forward. And it does form a motion.
Motion by Rich. Second by Phil. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Did you want to amend the appointment of me to
Yes.
2 years?
Yep, go ahead.
After the resolution was passed, it came to our attention that the appointment of town attorney is supposed to be for a term of 2 years rather than 1 year. So what we're looking to do is amend the prior ordinance from 1 year to 2 years.
Have a motion. Motion by Jim. Everybody's jumping in the mail. I got a motion by Jim, second by Phil. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Anybody else? Okay. I have a few things. One is the contracts from the state came in for the FEMA program. The 5 contracts came in, and I have to sign and have them notarized. And I was looking for the board to give me approval for them. They've been reviewed. And I need a motion to approve the 5 FEMA contracts. Motion by Dave, second by Jim. Discussion?
Could we get the addresses?
Yeah, so the addresses would be, now these are just the state ones.
Right.
see that 100 times. Let me see. These are contracts for the state, but where are all the addresses for the five?
There might be attachments.
Yeah, but I don't know where there's a lot of people. I did see them.
You can certainly email them if you.
Yeah, no, they're here. Oh, here's one of them. Okay. Oh, they're perfect. There's all of them.
Well, let me just hand you these so we don't mix, I don't mix them up with these.
All right, do you want the total project cost for each one, or just the, because each one I have to go through separate.
Oh.
But here, I have a list,
Properties?
I have a list of the properties, so
Okay.
3506 Oneida Street, 3520 Oneida Street, 3528 Oneida Street, 3532 Oneida Street, 3534 through 3536 Oneida Street, 3562 Oneida Street, 6 Woodbury Road, 9264 Grange Hill Road. Those include the 8 total properties.
So they're all gonna be demolished?
Yes, that's all part of the program, yep.
They've all accepted, right?
2, 3, 4, yes,
Okay.
5.
And from there, it goes out to bid?
We haven't scheduled that yet, not with these, no, not yet. That won't be probably for till next 2 board meetings. This is just a sign, we have to get these back, then they're gonna give us approval, then we'll go out to bid for, again, abstracts,
Okay.
demo, all that kind of stuff. So, do I have a motion to sign the contracts, to send these back?
Yeah, I think it makes more sense.
Okay, motion by Jim,
Second.
second by Dave, discussion? All in favor?
Hi.
Thank you. Okay, next thing, we had some emergency, issues that we had to pay for. We had some hard drive, fail over here at the email server. Rick knows his email was down, so we had a hard drive fail. I don't have the cost yet on that, Pulsey did it, but there's a cost to the hard drive, not the labor. I actually got 4 of them. Do you want me to put them together? There were 4 emergencies that had to be done at the time.
So we're gonna say these are emergencies, basically.
Right, yes, that's what I'm saying, so. Herb, should we do them together as a package or do them
I
separate?
do them separate.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve hard drive repairs on our 2013 server that's here in town, Butler Hall.
I'll move it.
Second. Motion by Rich, second by Phil. Discussion?
What was the cost of that?
Well, there's just a cost of the hard drive that's gonna come in, but it's probably gonna be pretty costly. It's a server hard drive, so.
So it was totally disabled and non-functioning.
Right.
It was the reason it was done on an emergency basis.
Right, yep. Yeah, right, yeah, no email.
No emails.
Okay,
So,
just,
yeah, no, I know, I'm just trying to justify it, so.
No emails, that's not a bad thing.
So, do I have a motion to approve that?
Yeah, I think, Rich did, right?
Rich made a motion, second?
Second.
Second by Phil. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Span filters for the PD that expired, they wind up expiring before the meeting, and that they needed to be upgraded. So I wanted to declare that. It was, at the time, it was emergency, or else they would have no span filters for their PD systems. So that we took care of. So if I have a motion to approve that as an emergency at the time.
So moved.
Motion by Jim. Second by Phil. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Second thing that expired too was the Pulsey email server SSL certifications. Again, that expired and people weren't able to access the email from outside the office here. And actually, again, Rick came up to me on Friday night to fix his phone because of that issue. So the cost was $169 per certification, and there was 2 of them. And I approved that, you know, under emergency that we needed to get it done. So if I can have the motion to approve that.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Phil. Discussion.
How do we avoid this in the future?
Well, it really is because I pretty much took over in January, and it's just all new stuff that's coming about that, but next year now we're all set on a certain, it'll be in the budget, and it'll be something that we can just take care of. So. But nobody knew about it, and then it just expired. So nobody really got updated on it. So it caused issues, for our internal network. So, and I know, right, Chief, I mean, you've been having issues over there, so.
Yes.
But we're working on that, and we'll talk about that later anyway. But yeah, after that, there should be no more emergencies for IT stuff, or else, again, a hard drive or server or something goes down, and we have to fix it. Next thing is a salter, just a salter to add on the one of the pickup trucks. Major issues we had all week over at the PD. People were falling, getting hurt. We couldn't get in there because of the cars. Our one truck is down, one of our small trucks. In fact, Rick's got it pulled apart now. So we purchased a salter to add on a pickup truck. I got some quotes for some other ones. We attached it to the order, and we ordered that, and we took the money out of equipment in Rick's budget. And it was $4,600, which we got municipality pricing for Boss. Yeah. So declare that as emergency. We needed it, and again, Chief, I mean.
Yeah, it was much needed, and there's a huge difference when salt and sand gets let down.
How's it working now? Good?
Great.
Okay, great. So if I have an motion that we declared that an emergency, the salter for the truck, for the pickup truck, and now we'll also be able to use that too going forward.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Phil. Discussion.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. I'm familiar with the situation.
Yep.
With the trailer over there. You really can't get in there. But I think we have to be careful too that we're declaring that an emergency. We've gotten through the winter. I guess we could have, I'm not sure it's an emergency. I understand the issue. We don't want somebody to fall.
Right.
And I think we need the equipment, but I think if it had to wait till tonight's meeting to get it approved, probably not a bad idea.
Well, when I had the meeting with the comptroller, he says if is public safety involved or anything. And
Yeah, I'm
I
not
think,
questioning that.
I mean, people were falling all over the police department. We had no truck to get in there, and again, Chief was here today at the staff meeting I had.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
we
I
had to
understand the
rectify
issue.
it.
I
So
just think we have to be careful what we're calling emergency.
okay.
Didn't somebody follow?
Well, a couple of people fell. So
It was
we already had an
It
accident.
was rectified in 4 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I looked at it as people are gonna get hurt, it's an emergency. Again, when I had the meeting with the comptroller, he says as long as it's, justifiable, I thought it was. And again, it wasn't like we went out for a huge expenditure. I mean, it's something that, we had no other way to do it, so.
With that trailer being there, the trucks can go.
No, I understand the issue. I know what you're saying.
So. I mean, if I didn't do it, who knows, right? So, I mean, again, I think, and again, if Chief was there, I mean, we had issues. So it was ongoing for a couple of days. We had all the ice and all the issues, and we had no way to get back there. So. But now they're salting in, it's working well, so, and we took it out of the equipment budget.
It wasn't just for the PD. We're using it at the library, we're using it at the fire station.
Yeah, I think that a piece of equipment is very important.
Right, but the PD was the issue.
Yeah, the PD was an emergency. Again, from the issues that we had. If no one fell, I wouldn't even have did it, but when people started falling, I think 2 of our officers fell, one hurt his back.
Yeah, and one attorney fell one day, showing up to court.
That's not good.
So there was more than just departmental personnel, and then
Who's his lawyer?
Hopefully he's a friend.
So, well, thank you. So next time, again, I'll shoot an email out to you guys too if you want to look at it to justify. Again, I was here, and it was something I thought that is necessary.
Vote on it?
Huh?
We just gotta vote on that one.
We didn't vote.
Okay.
We made a motion, and it was seconded, and then we were in discussion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second thing, another thing I had was there was a third appraisal needed for 6 Henderson Street. Again, for the FEMA programs. We had the first appraisal done. The customer wasn't satisfied with it. She got her appraisal. It was substantially higher by 30-40% almost. Mr. Cohen from the state told us to go back out and get another appraisal. We approved to go out for bid last time. We got the 2 bids that are here. One was, just give me a second. One was Donato sent in a bid, and that was for, it was right here.
They weren't part of the original discussion, right?
Part of the original discussion.
Part of the original appraisal. This is.
Donato bid the first ones that we had, but he lost to Dave Allen.
Okay.
So Dave Allen did the first appraisals, and then the other guy came in. I don't remember his name, for the second. And then these Carol went out and got RFPs for the other ones. Only 2 came back. One was Donato appraisal for $475, and then another one was for $450 from Paul Lindell. So he came in the cheapest. So if we can order that, we can get that done and get those moving, because that's the biggest reason for the meeting tonight is to get this thing moving. So if you make a motion that the lowest bidder of $450 for appraisal for 6 Henderson Street for Paul Lindell, of Lindell Appraisal Services.
So moved.
Motion by Dave, second by Jim. Discussion?
He has the necessary certification and licensing.
He does.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we talked about a credit card being used for some small purchases in the town office. I came up with Utica Gas and Electric Credit Union. It's all purchases that are going to be under $500, small purchases that we have to buy online. It will still be approved by the board, but it'll just be something we can purchase. In fact, perfect example, like our .gov registry, different things like that we can't pay any other way because they don't do POs. We can purchase with this. So
So moved.
I would be on there, and then the second person of contact would be Barb Spitfire, is also a joint owner, so just be me and her in the town to do that, and because she works down there with purchasing. So motion by Dave, second by Jim. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. All right, there's budget highway transfer, $2,500 for insurance claim. We'll bring that back next week, or next meeting. Budget transfer, you did that, Dave, for the refunding and restructuring bonds. I'll come back to that. Discuss Parks Committee and the finalization of the organization for the Parks Commission. Herb's reviewed it. I'd like him to give his comments on it.
Yeah, we prepared a local law which kind of mirrors the statutory entitlement to create the Parks Commission. We have the staggered appointments as we did with the Police Commission. It gives the Parks Commission the authority to supervise and manage the operations of the Parks and Recreation Center. It does not give them any financial authority, which is kind of similar to what we had done when we did the Police Commission, if you recall, because the way the statute had been written, they could basically do anything. So we've been very specific in terms of supervising the operation of the Parks and Recreation Center. So if you want to move it, it's a local law, so it would be subject to a public hearing being scheduled.
So what did we had a committee before, is that Parks Committee?
Yes, there was a Parks Committee.
Parks.
Commission.
Commission.
No, it was a committee.
Committee. So is that committee still,
Well, I don't believe it was reappointed at our org meeting. I don't think there was anything.
I don't think we reappointed him either.
So this will be put out for new resumes to people. I think we've already got 2.
So this would be in place of this committee that we had.
Right.
Yes.
But these would be organized meetings and really talking about what we can do in the park. And, hopefully, they look into grant funding and different, programs and activities too. And maybe they can be recommended for the park.
now, do they, not want to say report, but kind of work with Carson and then with the town board? I mean, how does that
Well, they work mostly with the town board. Again, they'll work with everybody, but it's mostly to bring more interaction into our parks. Be more on top of maintenance and repair issues. Kind of somebody that can give feedback on maybe researching other areas to see what they're doing or different ways. And again, maybe looking even into grants. There's a lot of park grants out there, a lot of different things like that. So they would actually report here to the board, or at least have some minutes that we can review to see where things are. I like them to be as interactive as possible. Again, I don't want it to be a coffee club. I want it to be something that they bring something to the table. I don't want them to make it a. I want them to.
Something constructive.
Yeah, exactly. I want it to be a constructive group, not just full of criticism and no action, but somebody that's going to, take a handle on things and maybe make it better for the parks and, just look at programs. And I mean, we really, we lack a lot of things from other towns, programs and different things for families to go to that, I think that, if we get some extra people on it, I mean, especially if it's 5 or 7 people, on there, it's 5 or 7 minds. Even if one person brought one thing a year to the table, it's 5 or 7 more things we have, so.
It's positive itself, sure.
Yeah, and again, it's people that are gonna live in New Hartford that wanna see the best for their parks, it's not gonna be just anybody, it's gonna be our town residents, so. Again, I love their feedback because, that's how we move ahead is, see what everybody's thinking, so. My idea, again, just, something to look at and, he's reviewed it. I mean, I don't want him to have any budgetary, they're not gonna be spending money and they're not gonna be doing any of that. It's just pretty much somebody that's got a passion for the park and wants to really put their time in and, create something out of it, so.
you're gonna pass that and you have a couple applicants?
There was 2 that sent their resumes in.
Well, then you're gonna have to go to public hearing, it's a local law.
Right, yeah. No, I'm just saying, but 2 people already, they seen it in the paper, they seen it, so they were interested in it. I think one was Victor Ferriello or something. I guess he's a nonprofit or something. He does a lot. I read his resume, but he had a lot of experience in different, nonprofit things and stuff. So I think maybe that's those kind of people we need, somebody that's willing to put their time in, for the benefit of everyone.
You're looking for a motion.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Phil. Discussion.
It's a motion to go forward with the local law and schedule a public hearing.
Correct.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
My pen's gonna run out of ink.
I know. You gotta notarize all my signatures too.
That's what I'm doing now.
Oh, okay. All right, computer policy, we talked about it last week. Me and Herb sat down, we went over it. We took out the parts about, people using, Facebook or anything on the actual town computers. We took all this stuff out. It was, what else did we do, Herb, that you put?
We took just a couple things out.
Okay, but mostly for
No,
personal interaction.
yeah, the big concern was personal use.
So we took all that out, but we left all the stuff that was about the website and what people can post as department heads and all that. So we've corrected everything, and it's the same as before, we just made those changes to it, so. I like to have something in place, because right now we have nothing, so at least this is a guideline for, you know, going forward with our new website and you know.
Should they pass, we'll put that as part of the.
Well, yeah, we'll put that in there as part of that, and also too in here is, you know, stuff that relates just to our website. You know, so it kind of makes sense to add it, so. So do I have a motion to approve with the changes that Herb made from the last meeting?
Make the motion.
Motion by Jim,
Second.
second by Phil. Discussion? No, discussion?
No,
Oh, okay. Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks. There's two appointments for the library board that came available. I had two resumes that are here. I believe, one was Andrea Lynch, got good feedback from her, and the next one was Joanne Wade. If you want, we can go through each one first.
You did alphabetically?
We'll go with Andrea Lynch first. You guys get the resumes I put in your mailboxes.
So the positions that were, became vacant?
these are vacant positions.
These are, well, yeah, they're vacant now, yes.
I'll move Andrea Lynch to be appointed on the Hartford Library Board.
Motion by Dave,
I'll second.
second by Rich. Discussion?
Do we get any feedback from the library board or anything?
Actually, Heather Moa sent me
Okay.
this one anyway.
And I think she's also commented on Wade, hasn't she?
So. Yes, but not officially in email.
Yeah.
I talked to her about it.
All right, so let's do Lynch. I made a motion.
Motion by Dave,
Seconded.
second by Rich. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next one is Joanne Wade. She's got a good background in fundraising, which I thought was important. I think would help the library. She lives over in Southwood in my neighborhood, and you know, I've known her for a long time. She's a good person, so.
I can hold that against her.
No, don't want to remind you.
I make a motion to accept Joanne Wade.
Second.
Motion by Dave, second by Phil. Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
I've got to say, those are two of the best appointments I've seen. That's very
Wow, she's a great
encouraging.
fundraiser.
Well, she is, and Andrea is amazing. So
Yeah.
You got two really good people.
New Hartford Chamber of Commerce, they're gonna go to their board meeting. What I told them was, and I got information from the state, was that whatever we rent the building for, if we rent to someone else, it's gotta be the same price, square footage wise. So we're paying 76 cents a square foot here, so it winds up that they would pay about $1.49 a month, that would even out. So that's the only way we could do it. We can't do in-kind services, or else there's really a shown of in-kind services, which there's not, and we can't give it to them for free. So if you guys are okay with giving it to them for the same price we currently pay, I'll go back and tell them. If not, then I'll just tell them we're not interested. But this is for the vacant room that's in the corner in the front that we really don't have any use for currently. So in fact, I think there's just storage in there. Chief, wasn't the police in there at one time or something?
Yeah, we're all set with it.
Yeah, so I mean, and they would clean it up, they would do their own painting, do whatever themselves, so. So you guys interested in having the chamber downstairs again?
Sure.
I think they used to be in the basement here.
A million years ago.
Yeah, so,
I'll make a motion.
Second.
motion by Dave, second by Phil, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll go back and tell them then. Our .gov website is fully up and running, so now we're at .gov. In fact, next week we'll have our abbreviations for our email will be all done. So we will be our name at Town of New Hartford, ny.gov. So we'll get rid of all those slashes and hyphens and everything else we got. So
Can somebody do our phones? Because somebody did my phone before.
actually, if you bring them to me,
Oh, you
I'll
can
be up
do
in
it?
the office. Just come and I'll do it for you.
Oh,
Okay, because I set up the server anyway,
Alright.
because they wanted to charge, so I took care of it. But anyway, it's all done.
Okay, great.
All right, so if you guys come see me after next week, I'll just fix your phones for you.
Sounds good.
All right, let's see what else I got here. On the Gander Mountain, there was a lease restriction. I called legal in the corporate office for Kohl's, and I spoke with them, and we negotiated that they would take the restriction off the building. So, and I talked to the other people in the area, and they're willing to take any restrictions off too. In fact, everybody was excited about having us there and said it would be a good idea, and they'd love to have us come in if we did as a town, and they thought it would actually bring some good traffic for their stores. So anyway, so I took care of that. What I want to do is go in executive session later and discuss the price. They came back with a counter offer, and that's okay, right?
Yeah.
So we'll come out with that, and then we'll come out if we want to
Purchase.
come back again. We'll come out in open session and then go over that. And that's all that I need to see here. Okay, good. I have here, we went and looked for auditors. Phil brought me some. They were all nice people. I called them, I contacted them, they were great. I found this firm at Dresser and Malarkey, actually. I went back to them. I guess there was an RFP sent to them, but they weren't aware of it. So I went back out to them. I spoke with one of the partners there. Real nice people. I guess they do Oneida County. I talked to them about, our situation, that we were looking for an auditor. They're willing to do it. They can start. Their price actually was the most competitive of all of them. And I know last time we came in, and they were all over $22,000 for the library. They're going to do the library audit and the actual town audit. These guys came in for 2017 audit for $18,000, and they're going to do the library for $3,000, so it's a total of $21,000. And which is nice with them is they're not charging us for any mileage or anything like that. So if you guys are interested, it would be Drescher and Malarkey, and they would be able to do the audit for a total of $21,000, which again is probably the cheapest bid that we've had so far in years. So
They do the county, you said?
they do the Oneida County, yeah, yep.
That's why we initially sent an RFP to them. We asked the county who they use.
Right.
We sent an RFP, we didn't, for some reason, it must have fallen through the cracks there. So Paul reached out again to them.
Yeah, so I called everybody personally. In fact, a lot of people weren't even interested in doing it because they didn't want to do it. But anyway, these guys were excited, they were motivated, they would love to do it, work with us. They gave us even great rates going right through to 2022, which, they're kind of keeping their fees right down. Like next year it goes up $400, but they're still the lowest bidder ever, even for the last 5 years.
Where are they out of?
They have an office in Buffalo, but they're down here again because they do the county, and they're here, so there's no issues with that. And they said they would do everything for us. There's no additional charges. They don't charge us for anything. And nice guys. I talked to their whole board staff, and they were great. So
I had contacted somebody. They were 22 and.
Yeah, you did, and they were very nice. Here, let's see. Matt Van Deckenberg. It was Matt, though, right? Mm-hmm. It came in at 22.5 plus 3,500.
For the library, right?
Yeah, very nice people. It was great you did
Out
this.
of Albany area.
They were gonna charge mileage,
Yeah,
travel. So
right, they were going to charge travel too. But again, real nice people. I'm glad you went out and did this. But again, this price here is pretty good, and they do the county. And
That's a good number.
I called on a couple other people that they've done, and everybody's happy with them. So again, they're real genuine and nice about it. So I guess have a motion for the lowest bidder for the audit for 2017 of $21,000, which includes the library and the financial total audit for Town of New Hartford from Drescher and Malarkey from Buffalo, New York.
Second.
Motion by Jim, Second by Phil. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Sounds good. You got it. That works out good.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, no, they're great. All right, what I have here is a capital project that we've been talking about for a while. Includes equipment for Rick's department that's here. It also includes, I know a while back we talked about IT services, different things in the town. I know we had some bids of people going around and doing an overall of the town, looking at the IT services, what we should have, what we should do. They wanted to charge us $5,000 for that proposal. What I did was I went through all the systems that we currently have, everything from accounting to assessors to email servers. Looked at the police chief, the length and time of his servers that he has and the different things that we have around the town. And what I did was I got some quotes. Again, we still go out to bid for these items, but I got some quotes on upgrading a lot of the servers that we have that are 10 years old, a lot of the software that we have that was pretty much archaic. I know we're still using the S400 for our accounting software. You know, the software that we have, again, is an older version because we never upgraded the AS400. So I contacted a few companies. Williamson's one that's known in New York State. I guess they do a lot of New York State stuff, and that's their business, is New York State's payroll and accounting. They also have a supplement to it for town codes and town clerk's office. And what that is again, just to take in money from the town clerk and to document stuff. Me and Joe did a demonstration with Williams. They came down for a couple hours, and they also came down with me and Dan and Lisa and Barb and did all the demonstrations and all the demos. It's a great software. It's going to save us a lot of money and paper and in time. It really brings our POs to the 21st century. I mean, I don't know if you guys know, but the paper that I've seen in the last 3 weeks is like just overwhelming. I mean, there's so much writing. They write the same thing over and over. This year tracks all the companies and everything in the computer, so it's pretty much automatically enters it. Not only that, too, if it's a budgeted item on the bottom, every time you go in there and you put in something, it subtracts. So if it's a negative, it won't even write the PO. So they have to come back and get a budget transfer, which we don't have those functions here now. The email.
Yes, I'm agreeing with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, this is it's a good software program. I think it's going to keep things very easy to record and document. And again, for budgetary issues, it's going to stop making POs when there's not money in that account. It tracks things better. It's going to be better tracking for us. So that's on the accounting side. It also does payroll. Again, it'll make payroll a lot easier and more functional than we currently are doing it. You know, there's ways they're willing to work with us on the programming side. They will, things that we want to add, like me and Joe had things that we'd like to add for his department. They're willing to implement those in there, you know, doing upgrades and different things. So they were very fully functional. And we thought they were nice programs for tracking, again, for his building permits, his plans. I mean, perfect example, now I'm looking for the plans for Gander Mountain. They're nowhere to be found, you know? And again, that was only in 2002. Oh, no, 2007, I'm sorry. So 2007 plans, we can't find them. You know, this here is going to track all that, categorize all that, so we'll know where to find things and where they'll be. You know, and actually you can even number where the storage box is. Wherever it might be, you'll be able to do it with this program, which currently now we have no system. Town clerks is good for, you know, bringing in cash.
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
I was never made aware that anyone was bringing anyone in. I have a very good town clerk program, software program. I was not invited to the demonstrations, nothing. I have not been consulted, and I do not want to change from BAS, Business Automation Services. We have the birth and death aspect of the software program, which no one understands what goes on in that. And to try to incorporate all of the data that's in our system to another system that's a little bit not quite as top-notch, we would have problems. And I would not, in fact, I would encourage Paul, you're going to the New York State
Association.
Yes. BAS has, and they're gonna have a display there, and they would be happy to see you. I just asked for Rob.
Okay. But do they have functionality? I mean, is there any way?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
And they do have dog licensing.
Okay.
But you can't, there's a misconception, I think. You can't license online a brand new pet.
Okay.
You can do the renewals, but the originals, people either have to mail them or walk in with them. And then there's the town clerk permits and
How
licenses.
did you end up with BAS? Was that as a result of the Town Clerks Association, or, I mean, it's a platform that,
We had a demonstration by two different companies, and we liked BAS the best. And I think probably it goes back into the early 2000s. They're very good to work with. They have other software that the town might want to view for consideration. But just,
well, the town clerk is certainly one of the bigger users.
Right, so I was gonna finish, but, Gail said she was in contact. We didn't have a demo of the town clerk software. What I was gonna say, but they do have a function piece for the town clerk. But I won't be here 4 years if we're not gonna upgrade to the 21st century. I mean, I want people to be able to
no
go
one's
online.
saying that
Right, right.
I don't know what's wrong with the system.
Well, no, the system that you have might be fine, but to give the option to the residents to be able to be more interactive without having to coming down from 8 to 5 during the week, I want to be able to give them that every other town and municipality, pretty much that's our size and the way we're going, is giving their residents.
Well, out of 932 towns in New York State, over 700 have BAS, the clerk program, so that speaks.
Right, so we might be able to implement that in our new software, and then also to get that to use it so it's user-friendly on the web services
Well,
side.
yeah, that's what we're working on.
Okay.
The forms we gave you last year,
The forms?
yes. Forms that,
Yeah, whatever you gave me last year, anything from this year on is the only forms that I'll be able.
No, Rebecca gave them to you,
Yeah, last year?
yes.
I don't have any of that though. I don't even have access to that anymore. Because it was a different administration and they refused to use the internet, so. I don't have those forms from last year. Only thing I've had is what.
We can get them to you.
Okay.
In fact, I think we said we would.
Yeah, we had a meeting already. So, but again, that's an option that they have is the clerk software package also that could be added on, and and they will be user friendly to being online, to be able to do services, to be able to pay things. So I looked at that. Secondly is the police department. As Chief knows, he's had a lot of issues that he's had with his hard drives, his servers. I mean, Chief, if you'd like to talk a minute on it.
Yeah, our servers, basically, Polsey has put Band-Aids over Band-Aids over Band-Aids. The system right now, because of all the technology implementations that have occurred over the last You know, since I've been in 7, 8 years now, our system wasn't designed for the amount of software that it's running. So a lot of our users, a lot of the police officers, our front office staff, are getting error messages saying that there's no more storage on the servers and so forth. So Pulse keeps coming in and they'll move files around and so forth, and they'll get us a little more storage, but it's really just putting Band-Aids on Band-Aids. So it's to the point where the servers in the back need to be replaced, and the whole computer room at the police department needs to be cleaned up and brought to the technology that exists today.
And also too, our cars, I mean, the stuff that's in there, we've been down, I mean, having issues with those
Same
also.
thing, we have 11 mobile data terminals in the cars. It was a recommendation from POSI last year that we replace those units. 4 out of 11 units last year had to have hard drives replaced. We've already had a 5th unit just a couple of weeks ago went down. When these MDTs go down in the cars, we lose a whole car. That's usually 2, 3, 4 weeks by the time we get a new hard drive in, all the software reloaded back onto that MDT, and that car is put back in service. So, you know, again, it was a recommendation about a year ago that we replaced them MDTs, and yet we've got another year's worth out of them, but it's time that they get replaced.
All right, again, just a survey I did going through the town, looking at the different things that we have. And again, a lot of the stuff that we have, you know, we're paying maintenance programs with all these software providers. We're paying, you know, fixing. We're got huge maintenance contracts. I mean, so there's a large cost to keeping stuff, you know, that's outdated too. So not only that it doesn't give you all the function that you want, it also holds you back from, you know, moving ahead. So I went around, you know, I took a look again at chief stuff, at the stuff that we have here, and again, just to upgrade, and not per se, you know, 7, 8 years goes down the road, you're gonna have to upgrade again. I mean, it's how technology is. But at this point, a lot of this stuff probably would save us some money just from all the repair costs, because again, they're coming over at $140, $150 an hour, plus, you know, the expense of the hardware components to fix all these things. I mean, I've been seeing the bills coming through. So again, I just put it together. I did some demos, minus we never did a demo with the clerk's office. But again, Williams, if we did that in payroll, we can, you know, link the system in the clerk's office, or you know, upgrade that system with that company, keep the same software, but again, get newer technologies in there, again, to benefit the residents. You know, so those are the things I looked at. So I had a packet that I put together here of those things, and since we talked about upgrading some of the equipment in DPW, we were looking at the leafers, we were looking at the compactor trucks, the wood chipper, the excavator, and upgrading the one plow truck that keeps failing on us. That's truck number 93 with the rust and rot. In fact, there's even one more truck down there that's, again, on the lift that did the salting. One of the smaller trucks that we were able to get in the parking lots and everything is still on the lift right now that can't salt. I mean, Rick could say that. I mean, I'm you know, he got expenditures too, but I didn't even put that in this list, because this would be the max that we can go without any tax increases next year. But this year, there's also opportunity here too, because there's an IT grant we might be able to get, and then on the trucks, there's a 50-50 matching grant with DEC, and one on the wood chipper. So if we get that money back, you know, that's a substantial cost there too. That's almost another $500,000 we get back there, and about, you know, $30,000-$35,000 in the IT grant if they come through. Which usually, right, if they come through, it's just a 3-year waiting process.
Waiting. It does come through.
So I was talking with bond company and everything, and you know, the best way to look at it is if we do a ban for this, because if we did a bond right now, we wouldn't be able to pay down the principal when we get the grant money. So if we did a ban until that, you know, the 3 years are up, then we'll be able to use that to pay down the debt, and then, you know, whatever's left over, we can go to bond after that. So, looking at all those costs and stuff, there's also in here too is one more lift down there, because just to get the police cars in and out, we have one lift right now, so we're taking a car off, we're putting one on. If there's a car to lift, we can't work on another vehicle, which that was a $4,200. It wasn't a huge cost. But going through all this, I put some spreadsheets together. I don't know if you guys seen it, for the bonds and the bands. Also included in the list that I gave you was the court order for Sangertown, certiorari that we had, Grange Hill Stormwater, the reconstruction of Tilden Ave. I put in here the bond for tonight's capital project, and also too down the road, if you're looking for with the building, the new municipality, I also put that in there, and you can see the cost of that, and then the total cost of what we pay right now with leasing all we do and all the fiber and everything. So, that's also in here to review. So, in 18, we got to come up this year with a band payment for $31,693. In 19, we'd have to come up with $165,584 for those 2 years. And then going forward, if you look here on the chart, in 2020, it would be $272,738. And then one of the bonds would actually go in effect. It would come out of band going in the bond at $127,585, giving us a total of $400,323. Again, that includes all up top. And then the next year, again, this is including if we did the building also in here, just to show. And this is worst case scenario. This doesn't include any grant money that would be put in here. So any money that we get from these grants, and also any grants from Grange Hill, would come back into here. So these costs will be lower, but the costs that you see here on the side would be total worst case scenario. That's here on your right hand side, going through years right to 2048, which again, that's because of the building is in there. But if you take out the cost of the bond for the building of $249,954, we're paying right now $238 anyway, every year, with all the total costs of everything that costs us to maintain what we're maintaining.
So you're saying we can do this without a tax increase?
We could do this capital project without tax increase. And what I did was I even put together all the bonds the town actually has, and I found that in 2009 bonds, if we restructure those bonds, we could actually save another $125,000 because the interest rates are way higher than what they are now. So that's included in here. But our total bonds for the whole town, not including water and sewer, the water and sewer ones are separate. But general funds are the total that's here on the right hand side. And as you can see, these are with the bands. And then we have a spike in 21, 22, 23, but then it goes right back down. And as you can see, it's going back down to where our buildings cost right now. So
these interest rates, 2.5, 2.85, and 3.25, and 3.5. Those are, where did you get those interest rates? Those are high, aren't they?
They are, but those are again, those are for bonds we already had in the past. I've added, this is all the bonding the town of New Hartford has, total everything.
Okay, so this is not the new rate?
No. The new rate on the band is like 1.73, right. And then the bond would be 2.7.
Right, okay.
And then actually, if we do the one through the agricultural one for the building, it's even lower than that. It's like 2.2 for new municipality. But again, you say, well, why are you banding in the beginning for a building? The reason I'm doing that is because there's huge grants. In fact, there's you can get up to $350,000 consolidation grant between the county and the state just from the courts. If we consolidate with the village, there's a huge grant for that, for build out. There's one for Homeland Security for police department. Again, there's some other grants that we can get, Sam's grants and different things. I talked with Joe Griffo. He's interested in helping us out. So that number actually for the building will probably be below what we're currently paying now for what we have now. So that'll definitely go down in cost. And that's with the building what we're purchasing it for, plus all the build-out costs. That's all included in here.
And you're saying the total is gonna be about 4,500 with the build out?
Well, if we acquire the building, you know, for what we're working with now, plus build-out, it's 4.4 million with the build-out, and that's for building out, you know, all town halls, senior center, community center, police department, courts.
Couldn't build what's there for that.
Right, I mean, that building was a $7 million
The
project.
landscape alone, I mean,
That's what we came in for the
blacktop
was, wasn't it? The cost? The one we looked at behind the
We looked at behind the library for half the square footage, and again, that didn't include all these site plan reviews and all that. So again, this is fully functional. There's 230 spots there. There's adequate parking. You know, our heating systems are in. I mean, there's some modifications. There's sprinkler system there. You know, so again, the town of New Hartford will never be able to buy another building and put it up with that kind of square footage and where we're going for that price. I mean, it'll never happen. So.
That's a steel framing building?
Yeah, steel framing and concrete masonry. So you know, again, I put all these together and wanted to really understand where we are bond-wise, and these are all our bonds total except for water and sewer. So these are our payments going forward. Again, taking even the building out of account with tonight's capital project for our equipment. You know, again, Rick knows that his equipment budget will be minimal. Years forward, there'll be no tax increase due to this. But again, these things we need. You know, I mean, all summer's complaints about leaves. We have 2 machines down. This is gonna be, you know, 1-man, 2-man leaves instead of 4-man leaf, you know, things. We'll have 2 trucks. They'll be able to go all over town and get way more leaves than possible than what we're currently doing. You know,
So we should be able to improve the services based on that.
Definitely improve the service.
Yeah, plus it's safety also too. I mean, really, the system that we have now is probably not the safest, you know, as we know. And you know, they're new trucks. You know, well, we know, we did it.
Yeah, that wasn't safe, you took it.
No, it wasn't with us two.
But us three, we were efficient.
And we're good to load that load.
Yeah, but I mean, we're in a good position, you know, from the past, our debt is, way below the Constitution, we don't have to worry about that, the Constitution of that limit, but, and Paul's, I think, done a good analysis on the cost savings of the building. And some of the savings with refinancing and refunding, some of the older bonds that we, so yeah, I've gone through this with Paul and with the fiscal advisors and.
You got so to sell the current police station courts, you have that estimate made, built into that as well?
Oh, this is all, this here, and we're not gonna, you know, go for the building tonight, so don't get me wrong, that's gonna all go. I just wanted to give you guys our year, this to me is my 1-year plan. If we go through all this, you guys already know if somebody confronts you on the street and says, oh, you bonded for all that money. Yeah, but the money that we're saving in the other truck that we're selling and stuff, it's gonna bring the equipment money down with the grants and everything. And then with the building, if we get those grants for the building like everyone's talking we can, it's actually gonna be cheaper than we're currently spending. We spend a lot of money. I mean, just think about the senior center alone was $37,000 a year. You know, I mean, you know, the cost of the police department. I mean, right now we have a mold situation. Nobody can go in that one building we put all that money into. Guess what? It's another 50 grand just to fix that. And who knows, the next storm, we might have another issue. I mean, we're paying for a trailer $450. I mean, I took all that into account. Fiber up. I mean, we're paying $4,500 a month just to run fiber between our buildings. You know, all that goes away. You know, and again, how about the drive time? I mean, I have mileage reports from Eileen. Every time she drives to Butler Hall or something, she charges us for mileage. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you know, again, it's not her fault. It's approved in our handbook. I mean, what am I going to do? I have to set right? But all those costs go away. So I took everything possible. Phone service, you know, internet service. I mean, we got internet at the park. We got internet at the regular. We got internet everywhere. And it's just a large cost. And if we all in one building, that all goes away again. And plus, everybody's there again. Joe had to come down to my office I don't know how many times this week, you know, to do demos and he's right there. Plus people come in, developers, Joe's there, Rick's there, you got a question, Chief's there, plus we'll have some policing, you know, in the building too. I mean, just bring some safety. But, again, the building, again, only in my mind is a no-brainer, but I want to at least show you the cost of where we're at. So to have a new building, brand new from scratch, it costs us an extra $7,000 a year. You know, I mean, really, that's what we're at. And if we get the grants, we're going to be in a positive on it. So, and then this capital project, again, we have $500,000 we can get back on the trucks, another $35,000 for the IT services, and then we're also be able to sell that snowplow truck that Rick has that he said he can get at least $100,000 for. So that's $600,000. So half of that will be paid back. I mean, if everything. But again, worst case scenario, every bond that we have, all our payment schedules I put together, because I didn't want anything to be open to say, well, what happens here? It's all here. These are our numbers. And again, if you look at the numbers that we're doing this with, there'll be no tax increases from this. I mean, again, we have things that go up in our town, so, you know, I mean, if something goes up percentage-wise or whatever, that's different. But from this right now, is the standpoint that we have, right, Dan?
Yep.
Also, too, there's no increases for this project going forward. And if we get money back, it even decreases our expenses, you know, so.
In terms of this capital project, I know you got equipment and so forth. What are you building aside? What are you looking for tonight?
Well, for the total capital project, for all the buildings and all the, it's actually right on here. It's, it'd be 1.386929. And that's the total of all the equipment for Rick. And again, upgrading, you know, Chief's IT stuff. But again, all that stuff's gonna go out to bid. I mean, that's just general, you know,
right, you need to get
numbers that are getting, I mean, it might come under a lot less, and then with the grant, it might come down that we're upgrading the chief for $20,000. I mean, it doesn't, but right now, those again, this year is worst case scenario in improving codes, accounting, payroll, police department servers, police department, all their cars, the new equipment in them, all updated. And another thing to take into account is we pay maintenance contracts on all this old equipment through the vendor, not only that we pay Polsey. So right now I just got one for our server in there of $2,500 for a 3-year contract through HP. So that all goes away. Those contracts go, because this is all under warranty too. So I didn't take that cost savings into account. But again, if you look at that, there's a big amount of our budget that comes out of contractual for all those extra, you know, fees and maintenance and you know, hard drives and, you know, service calls and, you know, because again, our contractual policy is just for day-to-day stuff. It's not, you know, to upgrade or you know, repair or put new patches. Every time they come install new software, it's a charge. This way here, it's already on there. So if we get, you know, Microsoft Exchange Server 2016, we're not going to look at it again for another 8 years, you know. So, and then they would maintain, or whoever would maintain it under the regular maintenance agreement, but there won't be any upgrade fees. There won't be any hard drive fees because, again, it's under warranty, and there's a 5-year warranty and all that stuff. I don't know for Chief's cars, though. I think that's only a 3.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so, but all the other stuff is a 5-year maintenance free. So that's where we are with bonding. Again, you have everything, and that's also taking into account, again, restructuring the old bonds for a lower interest rate, and you know.
What's your next step?
Well, I guess our next step is for the capital project is if we want to go ahead and approve this capital project. And again, you know, on the IT side, if there's something there that's not going to work, we're not going to take the money and just spend it, because that's my little project that I'm working. So if it's something to say, you know, the accounting software is not going to link up to the clerk software because she doesn't want it, that money is going right back. It's not going to be taken for anything. So this is just so we can actually start now really working on it and finding the best product. It's not that they're locked in with Williamson, we're not locked in with anybody. You know, I'm gonna bring everything to the board, but I don't wanna go look for stuff if no one's interested in upgrading it, you know? The only thing that is actually Chief's car is the install units. That right there, I looked, there's only one provider to get those, and they're on state contract, so there's nothing. But all the rest of the IT stuff, I'm gonna bring multiple, in fact, I got 2 more for codes that are gonna be coming in. I didn't tell Joe yet either, but I do. But I'll let you know about it. But so they're gonna be coming in, giving demonstrations, and again, if I go to the seminar in New York and I find that her company is better, and they can do everything, and we can really move ahead, then we'll go with them.
Sure.
But again, this is just max numbers that I got, and you know, we'll go as we find the best thing, you know, to use. So, is that correct on doing that though?
Yeah.
Okay. But I think we really need to upgrade though. I mean, again, it's a constant nightmare. I mean, I'm here every day now, you know, and every day there's just something going on, you know. And we're paying for it. We're not getting it for free through the service agreement. And every time, you know, one thing fails, it affects everybody. I mean, again, you know, Rick needs his email. I mean, that's how he communicates and stuff too with Chris, and for them to get their 1-800-9, you know, the dig, right? You get all your stuff, but I mean, you know, so. But, so that's that, and then, you know, our building, I just wanted to show it to you, we're not approving it tonight for that, but that's just where we are and what we pay. So, any questions? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the capital project for 2018 for the 1.386929? Well, there won't be no tax increase from this. I mean, if we have another major storm and there's something happens, I mean, you know, but from this right now, right, Danny, is my witness, we went through the numbers back and forth 100 times. I mean, I sat with fiscal advisors. She's already annoyed with me. I just keep calling her and but we went over everything. This here will not affect anything tax-wise. The money's here because, again, it's only going to lower equipment budget for Rick going forward. I think this year, what'd you have in there, 65,000? Yeah, so that 65 is going away. Sure. And it's going to be maybe 5 or 10 in there instead. That would make it okay. And then, again, money that we've already saved in the last 3 weeks, those expenses won't be here anymore. So between that and Rick's budget, you know, going forward, and getting back, at least we know we're going to get the money for the truck, so that's a given. Yeah. So getting that back, and we know we're allocated, at least for one of those grants already, so getting that back, there won't be no increases. So.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Jim.
I'll second.
Second by Rich. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So I have the list here of actual model numbers for the equipment though, so Rick can get those, because those are under state contract. So do I submit those to Gail, or where do I submit them?
You get it, correct? You get the list?
You don't need it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here's, well, here this. Yeah, this is the list right here for the equipment, and then Dana has the rest of the list for this.
I have it.
Oh, actually, you got it? Can you give it? Okay, all right. Do you need all the bonding information? I'm gonna post all this on the website anyway, so. Yeah, I'm just gonna put this on the website,
Okay.
the bonding information.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna put it on the website if you need it.
You don't need the information.
No, what I'm saying is it's up there if you need it.
Oh, all right.
All right, so next thing is just, we had in executive session I wanted to do in regards to the acquisition of real property and certiorari for Consumer Square.
Yep.
And also contains to 3 employees. What do you want to do for that?
Matters involving
3 different
three
employees?
specific employees.
Yep. Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Jim, second by Dave. Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Get 5 minutes back.
Yeah.
You ready, Ken?
Yes, all set, thank you.
Okay, I think the first thing that we talked about was a motion to counter-offer with regard to the acquisition of Gander Mountain for a figure of $1.9 million.
I'll move it.
Motion by Rich,
Second.
second by Phil. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
The second thing was a motion to elevate Barb Schwensfire
Okay, you want to just read
to, I don't have my glasses, to a position of Human Resource Department Head with additional duties as outlined by Supervisor Michioni, with an increase in salary to $3,200 per year.
So I put in here also too, is that previously, I looked through resolution stuff. Well, I could read this quick, but in the past, Barb received increases in her salary. Previous town boards did an excellent job performing, including work related to union negotiations. That role was taken away from Barb in the town. Union negotiations will be handled by the supervisor's office. Her new roles will be, Barb will take over the roles for the Northland Communications, troubleshooting the phones. We're currently paying maintenance for that. That will come off. She will also be the form generator for the website and put forms together and help as we go on in the future for updating the website. And Barb will also too be the computer contact for her basic troubleshooting needs as we go on into next year. Also, we'll be changing something with our maintenance agreements with different IT companies. Barb will do her day-to-day maintenance on email, support, Word, Excel, and current, minor troubleshooting network issues that we have here in town. So in doing that, I spoke with her, and she agrees to do all those things. In fact, that would be good because currently, Carol handles the day-to-day. That doesn't have the, computer knowledge that Barb does. And it would be very helpful for the supervisor's office and also too to move ahead. She will also help in implementation of new accounting and payroll systems. In fact, that was a large cost that the companies wanted to do. Barb and myself were able to take care of those tasks. So we will also be doing those, and she will be maintaining the support for the accounting software, IT end of it, not the actual accounting itself, but the IT end. So that was a total of $3,200 per year, and also making her actual department head. She will be reporting to the meetings here, when we have a town board meeting, and also reporting to the other meetings that I currently have with different towns and county positions. So, in saying that, if I can have a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dave, second by Phil. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Next thing we talked about was canceling the February 21st meeting.
Yes, we're gonna be at the town meeting, association meeting, and 2 of the board members will not be here also, so I thought of canceling that and going to the next town board meeting over the next meeting in March, the first week of March. A motion.
So moved.
Motion by Dave, second by Rich. Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
And a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Motion by Jim,
Second.
second by Dave. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, guys, for being here so late.